ready to go. It has just landed. It is just 2 p.m. and you are all very welcome to the Sunday service. How is everybody today? I know that Silverstone is on. I know that Wimbledon is on. I know all these things are happening all at once. But you know what? I was here first. So tough, hard luck, everybody. If you want to be outside at all today, please put on some sunblock because today it is very blue sky over Portlaoise. I was, if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that earlier on I was in the Rockadonna Maze. I drove out there with my lovely Bmw X7, which is a wonderful machine. What a beautiful, beautiful machine that is. I will regret sending that one back, I have to say. But it is, like I say, a gorgeous, gorgeous day. The British Grand Prix is on. Do yourself a favour at some point today. Have a look at Lewis Hamilton driving Frank Williams on a lap of Silverstone today. I think it was today or yesterday, whenever it was. Frank Williams is the team leader for Williams Racing. And you can see the man filled with joy the faster Hamilton goes. And I'm not a Hamilton fan. I don't like Lewis Hamilton generally. I think he's a brilliant driver, accomplished driver, but he's an annoying looking thing. But it's still, at the same time, it was a brilliant, joyous moment to watch Frank Williams, a disabled person, being driven around the track at full tilt and worrying about the brakes and the tyres and stuff on the cars. Cool, anyway. Jim Dunn is here, sweltering from Jim the bus driver, that is. It is a boiling hot day out there today. Beautiful, beautiful. Get outside and get some vitamin D in you and bring a mobile device while you're watching the Sunday service. If you're not up to speed, if you've never been here before, you can hit the subscribe button straight off. Also, this comes out as a podcast. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, somewhere else. Someone else got in touch with me as well, told me it's somewhere else. I don't know. It's syndicated now, and it's one of the biggest, most listened to podcasts in Ireland, believe it or not, weirdly, according to Spotify statistics. I don't really get into them. I don't really worry about statistics. I don't care who's watching, where's watching. As long as people are watching, I don't care. It doesn't matter how many. I still talk to the individual. But you can get it as a Spotify podcast. You can subscribe there. It is called the Sunday Service on Spotify. It's on iTunes. And it's over on Podbean as well, which is another company that has it. Somebody else has it. But anyway, it's really good, beautiful. You can follow me personally over on Instagram if you want. I'm most active probably on Instagram for DMs and stuff. I do tweet. The tweets aren't always about cars, so I am on Twitter as well. It's definitely not always about cars. This morning I was talking about concentration camps, so it's definitely not about cars all the time. But it is a fantastic day outside, so whatever happens today, at some point today, get some sun in your bones, get some vitamin D flowing through you. It's good for you. John Carney says safe travels, James, keeping the country moving. That's the way to keep Jim the bus drivers out there. Andrew Daly, Bob, it's Wimbledon and WC cricket final, still worth it though. I see you can have me on in the background like a radio and you can watch them. That's what most people do. Shout out to Sinead McCann as well, who contacted me and said she listens to the podcast. So thank you very much, Sinead. I'm very honoured to have you all listening on. But like I said, it does come as a normal podcast as well. This episode won't be out for a while. There's a few catch-ups to run through, and I did them all last night. I was very diligent last night. Went through every Sunday service and uploaded them all. So you're not missing anything, and they'll be out over the coming weeks. So I'll put this one up during the week as well. And I'll make a little intro for it. I didn't make any intros last night. I have a new editing machine inside as well for editing, so it's all go, lads. I mean, the improvements here are huge. The channel is growing massively. I can't wait to get to 40,000 subscribers, which is on the way. I'm hoping before the end of the month, but we'll have to see. News as well. Tuesday, I'm going to somewhere in Germany with Mazda to drive the MX-5 60th anniversary thing and go to Mazda Museum. So I'm going to make a little video of that. But if you follow me out on Instagram, you'll probably get a much better behind the scenes view, unedited, raw looking thing on Instagram. So head over to Instagram, follow me. My name is the same there as I'm here. You can also I think it's next Sunday. I think it's this day week. I'm going down to Madrid to drive some AMG Mercedes stuff on a track. As done by Mercedes Ireland. My first ever Mercedes trip. Thanks, Mercedes. My first ever one. Can you imagine that? 8 years. Anyway, I'll go down there and enjoy that, and I'll make a video of that one as well. So I don't know if I can do a Sunday service from next Sunday because I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know. I might be on a plane, or I could be I could be zooming around track, I don't know. But it's on Sunday and Monday. I'll be back on Monday, which is kind of weird to be going on a weekend. Zdenko's here. Come on, Zdenko. Rob TT. Bob, you should be watching a British Grand Prix. Never see Grand Prix because I'm always doing this. That's what happens. It's okay though. I don't mind. We always do the summer ones, and the summer ones are always a little bit quieter than other live streams, but you know, you get there in the end. Brian Morrissey, afternoon Bob, beautiful here in Waterford. Good man. Waterford's a lovely spot. Really like Waterford. Colin Whelan's here. Missing the FOS this weekend, which is true. Sim1, howdy Bob, what's the crack? Same as it ever was. CMS, greetings from the Philippines, has joined us. Good stuff. Afternoon all, hope you're all enjoying the weather. Eric Rochford. Live feeds last week, brilliant. Live feeds last week. Oh yeah, live feeds. Yeah, I was watching that myself actually. Mike Conley, hello everybody. How's it going, Bob? Good man. Mike, it's good to have you here. John Carney's here as well. The scenery in Dunamay is amazing. 'Tis today, pure, beautiful blue sky. I don't know if I can actually show you. I did take a picture on my phone of what I was doing up in Dunamaze for the crack. Yes, I can. That's from the top of Dunamaze this morning, which looks wonderful. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Rock of Dunamaze. Really love it up there. Shit, I don't do more with it. Also took a picture of my BMW X7 in the car park of Aldi. It's so big, that car. It's huge. Really is. It's fun though. It's a great car. I absolutely adore that car, I have to say. But if you ever get a chance, Rocket on a Maze, I was told this morning, who told me? Mick told me this morning that the Rocket on a Maze was used in a movie called Leap Year with Amy Adams. It was in that movie. I didn't know it was in that movie. He told me that this morning. This is Radio Mike on Instagram. He's got a good little Instagram account. It's very good of him to be there. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me as well, in case you're not there already. There is my account right there. See, I'm on Instagram. I'm right there. I can't pronounce that name. Squinuji. It's a pity Williams don't compete in F1 anymore. It's true, actually. It's a pity. Well, F1's not what it used to be, really. Now it's a rich man's game. Now it always was a rich man's game, but now you've no chance unless you have a giant wedge of cash as a driver, as well as being not just a team member. You have to be a sponsorable driver as well, which is why those ones at the top stay at the top. You know, they're very sponsorable. The team with the most amount of money always wins. It's just the way it's been over the last few years. Colin Williams says, in the back garden and listening, fantastic. That's what you do. Get yourself a nice cup of something or other, or a drink of something, and have a little lazy Sunday in the backyard and stick it on like a radio, because that's exactly what it is. Anton Sturzen says, afternoon Bob, lovely weather in Cork too. That X7 must be massive driving around here. Like, it is huge, a humongous car. And do you know what I noticed as well? People get very aggressive towards it. Other drivers do. It's just, I don't know if it's its size or because it just looks aggressive, but they just seem to be a little bit more aggressive towards me driving the car. And I'm not driving it any different than any other one, but they just seem to be like, no way, look at the size of that thing. Who's he think he is? That's funny. But it's good crack. Derek Norris is here. Derek, I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time somewhere in the RS show. You come up to just a shout out as well. Pilsen Auto in Dublin, in Ballymount. Every year they host a Skoda RS show. So all the owners of Skoda RSs come along on a day and they get their car judged and they win prizes. Guess who the judge is this year? Me. I judged last year, but I'm judging again this year. So I'm hoping to meet you all there. Anyone who's got a Skoda RS, you're all welcome to come along. You don't have to have a Skoda RS on the day to come and see what goes on. They usually bring the radio station, the local radio station, be Nova up there. I'll be on the radio as well. It's a lovely little event. I think it's 11 to 2 or something in Pilsen Auto. They have a Facebook page set up. I think I put a link out to that somewhere, but it's a lovely little day out if you want to go up there and meet everybody and see what it's all about. And they do a detailing class thing as well, how to polish your car and all. It was really good last year. Really found it very interesting, actually, in fairness. Mark Turner Smith says, afternoon Bob, double tasking watching you and F1 British Grand Prix. You see, you can watch them and listen to me. That's how it works. Anyway, that's okay. If you're into F1, that's fine. I'm not really into F1, but I haven't been for years. I used to be, back when Schumacher and Williams' team were in it, and there's multiple names I can think of from back there that I used to really, really enjoy, you know. But now it lost its edge for me quite some time ago. I don't know why, but it just has. Anyway. Brian Morrissey spent 20 minutes stuck behind an expressway bus yesterday. Could barely see through the black smoke. Yeah, I know. The diesel buses are still there. Despite having multiple options for having buses to be anything else, they're still diesel. I never quite understand the rationale of any purchasing organisation to not see that there's a better way out of it than to have diesel everywhere all the time. But diesel certainly does have its place, and a well-maintained diesel can last a very, very, very long time and can be very good for the environment. Not very good for the environment. Nothing is very good for the environment except leaving it alone. But a lot of things are very less harmful to the environment than others, and diesels aren't all bad, I can tell you. There's loads of messages coming in now all over the place. Okay, we're all cool. Where was I? Sim1 says, Bob, watch the review of the CRV and RAV4 with Sinead. You mentioned the RAV4 was a bit noisy over 40 miles per hour. I was a bit disappointed to hear that. How noisy are we talking? Unbearable, loud, or tolerable? I would say tolerable. If you're going to spend most of your time on a motorway, it won't be tolerable. It's just going to get annoying after a time, because whatever happens over like 40 mile an hour or somewhere in that region, it does start to instantly become loud. It's not coming from the engine or the gearbox. It's coming from the tyre roar, and it's coming from a lack of insulation. That's what happens if you want a car to go faster, further, more economical, or whatever it is. Weight is the enemy, and the first thing that suffers with weight is sound insulation, because sound insulation does nothing to the car bar make it quieter. That's all it does. It doesn't help the car in any way. It makes it heavier and quieter. You can buy sound insulation pads. You can actually get them in places like Bradshaw's or Halford's. You can put them on the inside of the door cards and things, and it does make the car quieter, definitely. But on the motorway, the CRV is a good bit quieter. But it is a good bit heavier as well. But they have managed to make it much quieter, much more acceptable on the road. Maybe changing the tyres out on the RAV4 would make a difference to the sound, but I can only test what they provided. And the one I had on the motorway was tolerably, but nearly unbearably loud on a motorway. Short journeys across cities, you'll have no problem whatsoever. It's a lovely yacht drive. Ronan Morgan, taking a while to all get going today. Just click the little like button there on the way, and if you wouldn't mind, it just lets YouTube know that this is going on, and a more chance of attracting a few more viewers in and get a few more questions going as well. It's always useful. You can support this channel as well if you want to. There are links down below to PayPal and Patreon. Your donations are massively appreciated. Every month I buy new equipment for the show here and for things that are happening, and we're trying to get all kinds of moving going together. I'm actually trying to make a studio sort of situation up as well, for the Sunday service to be in, where there's less echo and there's less, it would just be a little push up the ability of the show to be bigger again, because it is getting very big. Last week there's 2,000 people watched live, which is a scary number. If you're talking about radio audiences, that is a phenomenal figure for a 2-hour live show with no ad breaks, no music, no nothing in it, nothing. The only entertainment is coming from our interaction with each other. So it's a weird place to be, to have that many people watching. Now on a sunny day you get less, obviously, and on bank holiday weekends and things where other events are interfering with it, like today where you have Formula 1 and you have Wimbledon, you have cricket finals, and you have all sorts of stuff happening during the summer. It's midsummer. You always get a little bit less people around this time, but a lot of people listen back after a bit as well. So anyway, Ronan Morgan says, hi Bob, did you do a Tesla Model 3 review yet? No, you didn't miss it. It's not done. It's not available in Ireland to test. So you can order one for sure. No sign of delivery of anyone's yet. I've actually haven't seen a Model 3 in Ireland on the road yet. I have seen them in other countries. I was in Nice earlier on this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, I think. Was it Tuesday and Wednesday, or was it Monday and Tuesday? Oh God, I don't know. I was in Nice testing Ford Focus ST, and there was a few Model 3s and Model S. There's a few cars around, so they are around, but they're just not wrong side of the road. They're not delivering the right-hand drives just yet. So we haven't tested. I do have a test of the Model S and Model X coming up between now and autumn, so they are coming out. Brian Marcy, I really lost love for F1 after Senna died. Jeez, Brian, it was a long time ago, Senna. But yeah, I know. I didn't lose love back then, but there's something, safety came into it. A hell of a lot of safety came into it, a hell of a lot of evening the field and making sure that everybody got the best chance. And every time they meddled, they made it a little bit more boring and a little bit more predictable. And once Schumacher started to win basically every race all the time, the struggle kind of went over, and then it all kind of started to unravel for Formula One. I think it might be finding its way back, but maybe to a different audience. I only watch motor racing to see the skill of the driver and the danger involved in a whole lot. There has to be an element of danger in a sport, or you don't watch it very much. You know, you watch tennis because it's exciting, because all of a sudden something's going to happen. Someone has to win, and it's an instant sort of gratification. You watch basketball for the same reason. You watch football for the same reason. It's that moment where something good will happen. Motorsport, what good is going to happen? Someone's going to win. If the same person wins who was on pole position and led throughout the entire race and still wins, you go, well, that was exciting, wasn't it? But that seemed to happen every time. So I kind of fell out of love with Formula One as well. Don't forget to click the like button there. Go on, keep going. We're going up. See, more people are joining. When you click the like button, more people join. That's great. Who clicked the dislike button? Who did that? One of you. Just one of you did that. Thanks. Any button will do. It's fine. Mick Mulcahy's in the house. Come on, Mick. Robert. Bob, when testing an SUV, you should take it to a supermarket car park. See what it's... Supermarket. It always goes to the supermarket car park. It always does, because I keep them. Like, I tried them to... I was in Aldi this morning in a BMW X7. That car, I've had more people take pictures with that bleeding car everywhere I park it. I had an M5 a couple of weeks ago, and it was near invisible as I was driving by. People would hear it and then they'd forget about it. I could park in the street, no one paid any attention. An X7, you can't park anywhere. It's like having a superstar with you, which is kind of weird when you think about it, how elevated we put SUVs on. Like last night, there was two men taking pictures, selfies with the car. I was watching them do it from a distance, going, "Why are you taking a picture of the car?" Anyway, whatever. Squingooey. Thinking about downsizing my GLC for an MX-5 fastback, as no longer need a big car. Your thoughts? You could do that. That's a big downsize. You will find you're going to have to be really pedantic about keeping things in the car. Because like MX-5 isn't big and it has a tiny boot, like it's small. I know I'll be driving that now on Tuesday. My suitcase probably won't fit in the boot of the car. I love it to bits. A daily driver, if you're single or at least have no kids, yeah, you could get away with it if you really want to be that pedantic about it. But you know, I like an automatic for daily driving, and then I don't mind having a manual for the weekend. But daily driving is nice. But MX-5 is a glorious car. I love the thing. Make sure you're buying the one, if you're going older, the 1.8 one. 1.6 is fun and all, but nah. It eats itself over time. Jim Dunn says the new Toyota Camry just doesn't rank up for me. It's an all-new car, yet it's dated in my opinion, with no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, and cheap plastics, etc. Somewhat. I have Apple CarPlay in that X7. It doesn't work. Just won't connect properly and won't reliably do it every time. You plug in the cable and it plays perfectly without the Android Auto. Perfectly. If you don't plug in the cable, it plays through Bluetooth perfectly. Everything streams, does all the music, does everything else. No problem at all. The minute Android Auto is involved or Apple CarPlay, it doesn't work. And that's exactly what's my problem with Apple CarPlay. It works 70% of the time, it works every time, you know, that kind of thing. So it's kind of really annoying in that respect. Whereas with the Camry and the Toyota group at the moment, their own system looks old, but it actually works 100% of the time. Now, I know Toyota's bringing out a fix next year that will put Android Auto and Apple CarPlay into the cars. I don't know if that's going to be backdated to the current model cars or that's just going forward from next year. So you might want to check that one. But cheap plastics? I don't think so. I thought the plastics were pretty good actually. Gav1 says, hi Bob. Think about... let's just jump forward. Sorry there. Oh my God, there's so many people asking questions all of a sudden. Am I after falling behind already? Someone just gave me €10. Who is that now? Gary Mills. Gary Mills, you are the man. Super chat hero right there. Cool, no profile picture, but you're cool. Thank you very much, Gary Mills. You're very good and very sweet. Anyway, sorry, Gav1. Hi, Bob. Think about the Civic 1 litre and 1.5. A lot of reviews lean towards the 3-cylinder 1 litre. What's your thoughts on a 1.5 worth the extra money? I would always suggest to buy the bigger engine of any car, right? Unless there's only one engine, obviously. When you're looking at 3-cylinders, like a Seat Me or something, then there's only a 3-cylinder. But if you're looking at a Civic, the 1 litres might be good for the first owner. I just have this fear of those 3-cylinder engines. Longevity, how long are they going to last? If you're going to hold that car for 10, like my car is 13 years old now, if you're deciding to buy a car and you're thinking, I'm going to hold on to this one for a while, I have a 1.6 and it's like an old clock, it never stops. So I'd be nervous about pushing people into a 1 litre. It'd be good if you're going to do a PCP and get rid of it in 3 years time, 4 years time. You're never going to lose in that one. But for anyone coming after you, I'm just not convinced those little 1 litres are actually going to be able to do all that work reliably over all those years, especially as a family runabout. And Civic isn't exactly a small car, they're quite a big lump of yoke. I am testing one later on the year, the 1 litre. I booked in, I don't remember what date I booked it in. I'm used to these things. I just give them dates and they just put cars in the dates, and then I turn up and in the calendar it says Honda and I go to Honda and I don't even know what the car is. I'm useless at that. I don't plan them like that. Just too many cars to rattle through this year. And I try and get them all tested before Irish Car of the Year, because we're really starting to ramp up for Irish Car of the Year now. AGM for my side of the APMP is this month, and we're going to be doing all kinds of work there on Irish Car of the Year and putting it all together, which one's the best one. There's a lot of behind the scenes work goes on for Irish Car of the Year. You can reliably, if a car wins it, it's definitely won it on its best merits. But yeah. Brian Collins says, Bob, Kia Soul versus the e-Niro, which is best? Kia Soul, in my opinion. I personally like the appearance of the Kia Soul more. I think it's quirky. I love the two-tone colours of it. You can have it in a lime green. Like, it's an amazing colour car. And the range is deadly. 400 kilometres is realistic. 450 if you really want to push it. I've gotten beyond the 450, but that took like massive concentration. We're myself and Sinead are planning a roundup video of all electric cars on the market, and one of them will be the Kia Soul and e-Niro. The e-Niro is probably the better car as a family car to have, right? Slightly bigger back seat, decent sized boot. So as a family, if you've got a couple of kids and they're small or even big ones, you're going to be carrying around hurling gear or GA stuff or whatever in the boot. The e-Niro probably edges it in that respect, but the Kia Soul has a better entertainment system, and it's just a lovely car to own. Kia have rocketed forward, and I told you this. Anyone was tuning in a couple of years back, I was talking about electric cars. I told you that when the Koreans get involved in electric cars and they start spending their money, they will take over, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. They now have a good gamut of electric cars out, and they're so far ahead of the likes of the Volkswagen Group, who are struggling to try and get an ID3 out next year, and everyone's going, the ID3 is going to change the world. You know what? I don't know, is it going to change the world? But certainly from those two, Brian Cullen, I would go Kia Soul. It's just a tidier looking package. Some say it looks like a fridge, some say it looks like the Stig with the helmet on. I don't know. It's, to me, I'm happy to look at it anyway. John Finnerty says, hi Bob, a question if you don't mind. I don't mind, of course not. That's why I'm here, John Finley. Now I am answering questions from 2:09 p.m. So sorry, I'm not from behind already. Look, 70 of you watching already. Click the like button. Great stuff. Lovely to have you all here. Anyway, John Finnerty, I haven't answered your question yet. You're going to ask me a question. My partner has a 17 Nissan Juke petrol. God love, get rid of your partner immediately. They have zero taste. Sorry. Wants to change for a similar size vehicle in diesel. What would you recommend? Cheers. So first of all, get rid of the Nissan Juke quick before somebody notices that you have a Nissan Juke. Nissan Juke does not do well in second-hand sales, in holding its price. I know my local Nissan dealer here, Downey's in Portlaoise, got rid of Nissan entirely and in favour of Suzuki. You can imagine moving from very mainstream Nissan to conservative Suzuki because they hadn't got, and the reason it stayed is because they hadn't got enough cars to sell. Nissan. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Nissan makes some nice cars, some good cars. They just don't seem to have the range of cars. They've got the Leaf, the Micra, the Juke, the Qashqai, and the Pulsar or something. I'm not even sure the Pulsar exists anymore. So it's hard to see where Nissan's going to be in a couple of years' time, but we'll see. If you want to go petrol, is there a reason why you need petrol or why you need diesel? If your mileage is high enough to withstand having a diesel, then that's fine. If you're going to be doing 40,000 kilometers a year, you might as well have a diesel. You're not going to make any savings over having anything else other than that. We don't know where electricity is going to be in 12 months' time. It could cost you a bleeding fortune. But moving from a Nissan Juke in that size, you're only going to move up. And one I would definitely recommend you have a look at, it's not going to come in diesel, will be the Toyota CHR. Very similar size, very similar dimensions, and it's a hybrid. And you're moving into the point of having a hybrid petrol engine, which will do everything you wanted to do as you need. Now, if you want to go for diesel in that thing, you're going to have to start looking into the Volkswagen group to try and get yourself a diesel. Something around the size of a Skoda Karoq. You could also have the Volkswagen Tiguan, which is going to be bigger. They're all bigger than the Juke. There's very little like the Juke on the market at the moment. Who else would do something with Juke size? There wouldn't be much now, being honest with you. There really wouldn't be. Check out some of the Hyundai range, maybe. Wouldn't be that a whole lot out there. I wouldn't necessarily, unless you really have to have a diesel, I wouldn't necessarily be looking at diesel at the moment, unless your mileage is good enough. I think there's going to be moves in this budget that will equalise the price of petrol and diesel together, and I think that those moves is going to make petrol and diesel the same price at the pumps, and that's where a different choice starts to take place. But anyway, Vladimir says, cheers from BG, Bob. Pennywise here. Got Pennywise right. What do you think of all the internet drivers pretending to be car enthusiasts when 90% of all sold cars have less than 150 horsepower, 2-litre engine or CVT? There's a lot of people on the internet who have opinions. And like a little bit like your butthole, everyone's got one. That's the problem, unfortunately. And most of the people who have opinions don't come from a position of education or educated opinion. So a lot of them, it takes time to be a motoring journalist, to be a journalist on anything, to be a reviewer of things, of anything. It takes time and it takes experience. And that's not looking down on anybody. If I couldn't set out today to review mobile phones. I haven't used enough of them. I've used some of them, but I haven't used them all. So I couldn't really sit down and just start reviewing them, because I think they're basically all the same, just different size screens. They all basically do the same job though. Most of them are useless at making a phone call, funny enough, what they're supposed to be for. But the same applies for car enthusiasts or car people. A lot of them have experience in like a mechanic doesn't know as much about handling and torque vectoring and things as I would, right? And yet I wouldn't know as much about mechanics as a mechanic would. So a mechanic will know how to make a car go better than I do. That's experience. I could explain to you how to do surgery on your foot. I could probably even give a good shot at doing surgery on your foot, but I'd rather a doctor did it, because they know what to talk about. That's experience. That's all. That's the only difference between the two. So I've no problem with car enthusiasts being on the internet. What I hate is when they don't have an opinion, or when they just land out of space. You know, they're interested in cars over the years, and then all of a sudden, bang, they get a YouTube channel, they're doing reviews for a big publication because they've got a following on Instagram or something. It doesn't make any sense. That's doing people out of a job. And it's giving someone a voice who doesn't deserve one. That's generally what it is. I think you should have to serve a year as a motoring journalist in the trenches, kind of doing reports on news and stuff before you actually start reviewing cars, because your opinion changes very rapidly over time. Most people who start out love every car, and then 4 weeks later suddenly they start to hate every car. Roger Starkey, right-hand drive Model 3s are on the boat coming at the moment, or maybe for Ireland. If they're on the boat, they've been on the boat for a hell of a long time, Roger, because I saw pictures of all these right-hand drive cars lined up in Rotterdam or something recently, sitting there being charged, and that must have been 6 months ago, and I still haven't seen a single delivery of Model 3 in Ireland, so I don't know. Brian Morris said, Bob, I'm starting my own channel about radio-controlled cars and need to learn some editing. Any advice for a novice? What kind of computer have you got? That's the first question I want to ask. Do you have a PC or do you have a Mac for editing on? I can 100%, I can make any video you want on my mobile phone right there. That's because it's an Apple phone and it comes with iMovie. And iMovie's just been updated and it's actually really powerful. It's pretty good. I could get away with using that every day, I think the most powerful camera you have is the camera you have with you, and the most powerful editing machine is the editing machine you've got with you. So if you have a Mac, then get Final Cut Pro by hook or by crook. Buy it. I don't care how you get it. It works. It's easy to use. You can make it as complicated as you want. You can make it as easy as you want, and you don't have to continually pay for the bloody thing, right? So it's not on rent. You bought it. I think it's $350 or something now. I think it was $300 or $299 or something when I bought it. I think it's gone up a little bit, but it's worth it. It's brilliant, and you get free updates for life on it, and it works a treat, and you'll never have a problem with it. But if you're on PC, you're going to have your options limited very quickly. There's a few free editing programs out there. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to edit. Most of those videos will cover things like Premiere Pro, but the stuff you learn from the standard stuff you learn from Premiere Pro is things that work in every editing tool. It's not just Premiere Pro. Film to edit is the other big advice I give you. A lot of people will do take after take after take after take after. I don't really. I just kind of settle in from the first couple of takes, then I do it. I've worked with Sinead McCann. She's very similar to me. She writes some of her stuff, but and I've worked with other motoring journalists as well over the years who don't need to rehearse anything. But you got to experiment. Just grow. Just publish it. Grow. Not everything you make is going to be perfect. So get over that idea. Best of luck with the channel. Tweet me a link to the channel, and I'll subscribe to you, Brian, and we'll see if we can grow each other's channel. How about that? Brian Connell, Bob, I'm amazed you even knew the Cricket World Cup final was on. A Dubliner, Captain Owen Morgan, could be lifting us a World Cup today, but unfortunately not for us. Oh, damn, is he on? All right, well, I know we have a fairly strong cricket team. I heard that before. I don't know why, but I heard that before. Hi Bob, says John Carney. Is it just me, or is the size of indicator lenses getting smaller with all the emphasis on safety? I find a very strange move by the manufacturers. It is a little bit weird. They're getting thinner, and it's down to LEDs. It's also down to, believe it or not, NCAP ratings. The size of glass on the front of the car has a bearing on your stars in the NCAP rating. So also the length of bonnet, how much glass there is, all that sort of stuff. So what they're doing is they're because the strip of an LED is a lot smaller than having a bulb and a reflector, So the old version was a 20 watt or 25 watt or 50 watt or something bulb that was in there, a yellow coloured bulb in a clear lens, or a yellow lens with a clear bulb, and the bulb flashed on and off, and it basically was in a reflector, so it reflected the light outwards. So as you indicate, it was quite visible from a distance. And in Ireland and England, we have yellow lenses on the back, and in America they have red coloured lenses on the back, so the whole brake light flashes on and off. But now with the advent of LED bulbs and LED lights, which aren't bulbs at all, just a strip of LEDs, they can make them do that, that thing where it looks like it's pointing like an arrow. They can make it do that. Audi started that a while ago, but now it's quite commonplace. It's on my BMW outside. It was on the Kia Soul, but they are getting smaller and thinner, so now it's just a tiny little line. It can be hard to see in full daylight. At night time it's much brighter, but it's still fairly hard to see. It's unfortunate, kind of. It's good because it uses less electricity, but it's unfortunate because it means we have to put up with lights during the day we can't even see coming at us. Sim1 says, haven't watched F1 for nearly 20 years. The old battle between Schumacher and Hakkinen in the late 90s were class. No interest anymore. Boring. Tis kind of. And the people in it are boring as well, which I find as well. They're all so afraid of upsetting advertisers. And they're also afraid of being the bad boy of F1, Whereas you go back to James Hunt Day, and he was chasing women all over the place and getting drunk for races, and you have all kinds of things were going on, and that's all changed, and probably for the better in some ways, but in the other ways we've lost interest in the people behind the people. The stars now, the what do you call him, Lewis Hamilton's out there with his little dreadlocks and his earrings and his watches and who's sponsored by and where he's going. It's crass, like it's nearly crass. And I've been at Formula One parties and stuff, and it's still kind of crass. Vladimir A. just zoomed by there. Vladimir A. What's your opinion on plug-ins? Seems like a lame idea to spend 30 grand on a car, and the main purpose of being driven 35 kilometers a day. Why bother with a new car in the first place? I don't think plug-in hybrids work at all. Plug-in PHEVs, I think they're pretty ropey. If you're determined to make, and some people are, if you plug in your car and you are determined enough to get that car to go here, there and everywhere on the plug-in part of it, you should have bought an electric car in the first place, because an electric car would do that, but you have to plug it in twice a week, right? Whereas a plug-in hybrid, you have to plug it in every day, right? You plug it in nearly every journey. If you're going 30 kilometers to work and 30 kilometers home, then you're going to have to plug that thing in every single time. It's a pain in the ass. You might as well have bought an electric car. You're at nothing. And again, thanks again to Gary Mills, who has submitted some money there by Super Chat. You can do the same thing if you want to support this channel. It'd be brilliant if you could. Just click on the Super Chat button at the bottom of the chat there. You see a little dollar sign. You can do it that way. You can go by PayPal if you want to do it that way. You can go by Patreon, which is the other one as well. Is it Patreon or Patron? Whatever it's called. That as well. And that's a little drip feed thing. You can do that way. Or you can go and buy a t-shirt in Teespring if you want to. I've bought mine and hoodies and things. I forgot to wear it. Anyway, I'm not getting a strip show now. But you can also go to Amazon and buy anything you want on Amazon using the link to Amazon from my description on there, and I still get like a tiny little cut out of whatever you bought. It makes a difference what you buy. Anything. It could be a roll of toilet paper. It makes a difference. You get a tiny little cut out of it when you use the affiliate links. I didn't realize that till I got an affiliate when someone bought an Apple Mac on Amazon, but used the link here to go there, and then bought an Apple Mac just off them, nothing to do with me, and I got a little cut out of it. I don't know how the hell that worked. Anyway, Gary Mills, great show, Bob, as usual. Thanks, Gary. Twist South says, thoughts on VAG Group 1.5 litre TSI kangaroo problem? Yes, I've heard a lot about this kangaroo problem. And I think it's getting so much media attention because that's a great phrase, kangaroo problem, this idea that it jumps forward like a kangaroo. Now, I haven't actually experienced it in the car myself as much as I've driven 1.5 TSIs. But I do find that most of these engines are very, very hypersensitive to everything you do. I also found that a lot of those engines cut out when you're just rolling up the traffic lights. They do the stop-start thing. And they're cutting out at like 20 kilometers an hour, you know. And they're not hybrids, so it's a bit weird. But if you're... Now, I know they're after doing an update to it. I know there is a recall and they're doing something about it. So they're fixing it software-wise. It seems to be a software issue rather than a hardware issue. So you can get it sorted at a local Volkswagen dealership. If you don't, then there should be murder. See, the problem we have is we don't have a class action lawsuit here. If you're not from America, you won't know what that means. So a class action in America means that thousands of people can get together and take a single lawsuit through a single law firm against a single person, even though thousands of people are doing it, or hundreds, or millions, or whatever way you want to work it out. That's a class action. Now, that means that they can split the costs of that court case amongst themselves, or they can, when the payout happens, if they got $1 million, it's $1 million divided by everyone who took the class action lawsuit, right? So that's how it works. But big companies are terrified of class action lawsuits in America because they can work out to be in the millions when somebody gets paid out, right? Because the judge will take into account how many people were affected by it. And if you got a class action lawsuit and it's 30,000 people are taking the class action, then you're in deep doo-doo. But over here on this side of the world, we don't have class action lawsuits. You have to take the court action by yourself with your own solicitor against big companies, which means a lot of times the big companies get away with murder on this side of the world. It also means in European courts and stuff, it's very expensive for the individual to take this lawsuit against a company, and if it doesn't work out, it can end up being huge money you owe against the company. So it can be difficult over here to get things done. We're a bit slower in Europe to do recalls, and a bit slower in Europe to do these things done properly. So if you're not getting an answer from your local dealership, then take it to the next step up from that, which is the local group like Volkswagen Ireland. I don't know, you might be Twist South, might be from the UK or something. You'll find over there's Volkswagen UK as well. Mark Turner Smith, being 45 this year, passed in driving tests in 91. Just about remember when Golf Mark II GTIs ruled the road. Young man's dream. Insurance companies killed. How much do you see the future of affordable hot hatch? There will be affordable hot hatches eventually again, but they're going to be electric powered, or they'll be hybrid, or there'll be some sort of a tick box somewhere that they'll work out environmentally friendly. We are losing our freedom from a number of different ways. Realistically, the biggest problem on the road is not GTI hot hatchbacks, or it's not Ferraris or Lamborghinis. They're high CO2 pollutant, but there's maybe only 5 Ferraris in Ireland that are regularly driven, right? So just the CO2 emissions are so low because they don't go very far and there's not many people of them. The real problem is the Ford Focus, is the ordinary Volkswagen Golf, is the ordinary, Skoda Octavia, because there's hundreds and thousands of them on the road, and they emit the same amount of CO2 as a Ferrari does, but they do it every day. And that's the biggest problem. So that's CO2 emissions, NOx emissions, diesel, ICE engines, they are all under threat now. And we'll see a point in the future where young people will lose interest in cars, and it's already happened. Every single year, less and less young people buy and modify cars. I see less of them on the road. There's a couple of Passats around here. I saw a hot rod this morning going through the town as well, a proper American hot rod. But it's like only older guys can afford to do that these days. It's too expensive for a young guy. And now there's so many rules as well. You can't just buy a car and insurance. Like when I was a kid or a young lad, people bought a Starlet, insured it, taxed it, and then started modifying it, and just never told anyone about the modifications. They buy Galanzas and insure them as a Starlet. That's the way it was. That's the way you had to do it, because you want to get yourself on a road. You want that freedom. These days, they don't want the freedom. They want their friends and a cappuccino. All is lost. Which reminds me, if you're buying a cappuccino, or you're going to buy an iced coffee from Starbucks, right? Don't get it in a plastic cup, will you? Don't buy it in a plastic cup. Make sure the cup you're buying is either totally compostable, or you bring your own bloody cup, right? And something you can reuse all the time. I see them everywhere. It's an awful pain in the hole this time of the year. And you see like someone's name written in the front. You go, why'd you drop that on the ground? Why didn't you put it in a bin? Wizardon says, hi Bob, would it be silly to purchase a new diesel car at the moment? Diesel dead. Diesel's not dead. Not for years. I'm telling you, it's not going to be going anywhere for years. There is too much money invested in diesel and petrol engine cars in the world for them to just suddenly evaporate overnight. There is gigantic industries that exist almost solely on the fact that they run on diesel engines. That isn't going to disappear either. There isn't enough money around for everybody to just suddenly switch over to electric, or just suddenly switch over to anything. You're going to be still getting diesel in 50 or 100 years, without a doubt. The sales will continue to fall and stabilise, because for the last few years we've had 80 or 90% diesel sales. That has to come back down. That can't sustain that way. That needs to come back down to like 50 or 49%, and then 30% petrol, and then the rest is electric. And that's the best sort of mix you're going to get out of the whole lot. Electric is not ready, definitely not ready to take over the world. It's got another 10 years of development to go yet, and now some of the money's been invested into hydrogen as well. I hear this from the industry. Generally, there's industry that are diverting money into hydrogen research. There's a lot going on in that sector as well. So I guarantee you're safe getting a diesel engine this year, next year, and the year after that, no problem. Just the only thing we're not sure of is what the government's going to do in October this year. That's the only thing we don't know at the moment, because the government are the useless bunch that I've ever known. They don't seem to know anything about what they're doing year to year. They have no plan that lasts longer than 6 months. They don't seem to be able to plan anything into the future beyond a couple of years. And here we are looking at a budget and we don't know what's in it for the whole industry. It's the biggest industry in the country is the car industry. When you take it as a whole unit, imports, exports, sales, VRT, VAT, all the stuff that goes on in the car industry, and the one industry that should know what's going to come at them from the next up along the road hasn't a clue. Anyway, Mark Turner Smith, affordable hot hatches don't seem to be figuring an electric future. We haven't kind of worked out what a hot hatch is electrically. I know Tesla go on about how fast they are, and I know there's zero torque lag in an electric car. So when you put your foot down, you get instant torque, and you get 100% of it straight away. So all electric cars are fast. The problem is hot hatches have a lot of work to do. Now I drove a hot hatch the other day, Ford Focus ST, 2.3 litre, 290 horsepower was it? 280 horsepower in Nice. Really good car, felt like a dinosaur, but a really good dinosaur. But compared to electric sure-footed things, it felt kind of, how would I explain this? It felt like something that was thought about doing 5 or 6 years ago and just got released now, but it seems behind the schedule because of all the electric stuff that's going on. It feels weird. But hot hatches are definitely there. I talked to the engineers behind the Ford Focus ST and tried to get out about the Ford Focus RS. What's the next one? And he wouldn't talk about it, but I did hear 450 horsepower as the next RS one. I'll have a video out of the ST one as soon as I can. That was a difficult edit because it was a difficult trip, a really weird trip. We left on Monday, we went to a random hotel in the mountain, and then we drove back to the airport to pick up the cars and drive them around. Then we left at like 5 o'clock, and we're sitting there going, hang on, I'm not finished testing the cars yet. This is kind of a strange trip, that one. So I'm finding it difficult to edit the video. Colin Whelan, Volkswagen just shared their electric MEB platform with Ford. Yeah, I know. That's because Ford have no plans. Ford are like, electric? Somebody went electric? Where did that go? That's the way Ford are at the moment. That's the way a lot of car companies are. They just weren't expecting this electric uptake thing. And like, I'm not rushing anyone into electric. There's some great electric cars there right now, but I definitely wouldn't touch an electric car until 2020. There's so much tech coming, and there's so much research happening all at the same time. You'd be mad right now to buy an electric car at this moment. Plus, all the electric cars that are on sale in Ireland today, get this, are sold out. That Kia e-Soul, sold out. The Niro, sold out. There won't be more supply of that stuff until 2020 anyway, so you're at nothing. So, so hang tough for a little bit. They're not ready yet. Vladimir says, Bob, which one do you think will happen first? We colonize Mars, or 2, the world turns into full electric autonomous cars? We will put a person on Mars before we have full autonomy cars on the road in Ireland. I definitely telling you right now, this minute, autonomous cars are 30 to 40 years away. Maybe further. Actually, maybe a little bit further. There's just, I've driven, lads, look, I was down in Morocco earlier on this year. The Ford Raptor, Ranger Raptor video was filmed down in Morocco. I drove across the northern Sahara in the Morocco, up along beaches and stuff. There isn't a prayer of an autonomous car knowing where to go in Morocco. The main road we drove on was made of stone and is just designed to shake your car to pieces. It's because it's made for horses and carts. There isn't a hope of a car understanding that kind of road. I've driven in European cities where there's no way. Try Rome. If you've never driven anywhere interesting, try driving around Rome. Try driving around central Paris. And just tell me that an autonomous car is going to be able to cope with the sheer volume of information coming at us. The only way it can do it is if all of the cars are autonomous. So if every car on the road around it is autonomous, they'll communicate with one another and they'll all figure out what's happening around them. But if all the cars are autonomous, then you're in a position where one driver makes a left turn without indicating, and everything comes to a grinding halt. So I still think autonomous cars are a good 30 years from now. I think we'll be to be a man or a woman on, or even maybe a whole family of people on Mars inside 10 years. I think that seems to be on the go right now. So I think we're going to have a colony on Mars before we'll ever have autonomous cars. Duke range would be Renault Captur. Renault Captur's not a bad little car. It's a bit long in the tooth now. They need maybe an update. And I really hate Renault's user interface on the thing. It's crap. It's just so bad. It always has been. It's always been a weak point in Renault. And it's not bad in the Megane. That's a bit better because of a big screen. But it's not great on the other ones. T-Cross is very good. That's a good car. T-Cross. There you go. Mazda CX-3. New one in that coming, I think. Isn't that being launched soon? Anyway, Peugeot 2008. That's not bad. That's only a little tiny steering wheel. But there's a lot of stuff in that. He's right. A lot of stuff in that segment that you can have a roam about at. T-Cross would be the one I'd pick out. That has been a nice one to actually drive around in. Oh my God, that was a fair jump forward. Now we missed a lot of things there. Brendan. Sorry, Aidan. I can nearly call you Adrian. And I'm answering questions right now from. I'm keeping up, which is nearly 2:29 p.m. It's about 15 minutes behind you. I'm usually much further back, so I'm trying my best to catch up with you. Every time I tell someone I'm looking at Fiesta ST, they give it a lot of hate and negative attitude towards Ford. Is it warranted? No. Fiesta ST is a bloody great car. That's a phenomenal yacht to drive. Ford have been doing some really soul-searching stuff over the last while. So the problem Ford, as I see it, as someone who has an opinion within the car industry, but I don't actually work for Ford at all, right? When I look at Ford, the problem I have is you've got Ford Europe and you've got Ford US. The US think they know what's best for Europe. This is what generally happens. So the US guys come over to go, hey, look at our trucks, aren't they wonderful? And Europe goes, not really, they're too big. The Ford F-150 is just too big. But Ford US think that that's what's best, is to go, well, you know what, we're just not selling saloon cars in the US, we're just going to cancel it. And so they cancelled it. But Europe kind of followed suit. Europe doesn't know what to do. The European chief is not as strong as he should be, kind of guiding the European stuff. And Ford are almost completely caught off the boil with electric cars, as was BMW. The two of those companies are in real trouble because they don't have enough electric stuff going on. BMW's in such big trouble that their managing directors resigned. That's how much trouble they're in. Anyway, going back to Ford for a minute. So Ford Europe and Ford US fight amongst themselves the whole time. And in between that, you've got Ford England, that used to be the headquarters of Europe, right? So Dagenham and Ford. And then Ford Ireland, which is a headquarters in Cork. The very first Ford ever manufactured outside of the US was manufactured in Cork. The head office, Henry Ford, was there many times. And last year, or the year before, the Ford family came over to celebrate 100 years, right? So there's all kinds of stuff happening. You got all this dynamic stuff that's happening in a very old company, and they're trying to rationalize the whole thing. So I had a little plant in the UK that was manufacturing some oddball engines for years. They went, nah, just closed that, and just screw liner gone. Everything else has been reduced back in what they're making. They've moved some of the production to Germany. They've moved other bits of production to other places. They're shifting things out of the country. And so Ford England are putting pressure on Ford Europe. That's their biggest customer. England's Ford's biggest customer in Europe. To do more, but Ford Europe has gone, no, we're a European company. So there's this big problem between the two, and from the outside looking in, you're looking at Ford going, they look like dinosaurs. They just do. They don't seem to have anything modern coming, anything really fresh, anything really exciting coming. The performance cars, for sure. The Mustang's fantastic. The Ford Focus RS is fantastic. The Ford Focus ST is a great car to drive. Ford Focus maybe didn't quite find its mark properly as a standard 5-door hatchback, but what have they got in the kind of sport SUV range? To have the EcoSport or EcoSport, it's a rough car, nobody likes it. The Kuga, it looks old now, so there's all kinds of problems in that Ford range. So I don't find it warranting. Ford's a fantastic company. They've done some fantastic stuff, and in the States, their F-150, Ford Ranger Raptor, the Ford F-150 Raptor, they're phenomenal cars. I've driven the F-150 Raptor down in Morocco. Absolutely outstanding machine. They just don't seem to be finding their home in Europe as well as they should be anymore. That's a problem. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded there, but anyway, we're there. That was, what's it, 2 hours is further, isn't it? We're coming up to the first hour, coming to the end of that one already. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click the like button while you're there, and see if you can use one of the support tools down below to say that you love the channel. It'd be great. Or the super chat one if you want as well. Brian Cullen, Bob, RE Nissan. Oh my god. No, I'm going to get an ear bash now because Nissan don't have any cars. Yes, the Pulsar has followed the Duke and a note into the dustbin of history. They only have 4 cars for sale now: the X-Trail, Qashqai, Micra and Leaf. Now, if they were the last 4 cars on earth, which one would you pick to drive? The X-Trail, the Qashqai, the Micra or the Leaf? I quite like the Micra. The Leaf isn't bad, but it now at the moment, actually, weirdly, it was the first one off the mark as electric cars, and now the modern Leaf looks like a dinosaur, doesn't it? It's weird how things change very rapidly in the car industry. How like 5 years or 4 years can make a gigantic difference when a car company's not really paying attention. The problem for Nissan is very similar to Ford. They are absolutely hamstrung by Renault. Nissan were all but gone out of business. They were broke. They had no money left. They had nothing left to do. They were cancelling cars left, right and centre. Renault came with a big bank balance and went, hey, well, let's create a Renault-Nissan alliance. It'll all be good. And they've dragged Nissan back up. But slowly but surely, Nissan and Renault relationship has broken down. Carlos Ghosn has been caught doing all kinds of weird stuff with shares, and it's dragging him down and down and down until they're going to be killed. And if they don't adapt very soon, I'm warning you, Nissan is going to be in deep trouble, because you can't hang out on a long range and short range Leaf for the rest of your life, as Koreans have come into the market. Volkswagen's about to go wild with their ID3, and Skoda's doing the Vision and all that. There's all kinds of stuff coming at them, and they're not prepared to adapt just yet. Sim1 says, Bob, I really like the new Toyota Camry. Good man, but couldn't go back to owning a saloon car. Is there any possibility there will be a hatchback or an estate variant of the Camry at some stage in the future? I wish there was an estate version. There used to be an estate version of the old Camry. Very hard to get, but you could get it alright. It would make a lot of sense. And I actually seen the Ford Focus ST on that international launch in wagon form. It looks phenomenal. Not sure it's coming in petrol to Ireland, but it's definitely going to come in diesel. Ford. We're definitely going to bring a diesel one over. Diesel, it's great. Yeah, where's the 2.3 petrol? That one? Can I have that one? Yeah, they should. I haven't seen anything about the Camry estate or a hatchback version of it, but they should, without a doubt. I'm sure they're going to tell you that the Prius is the one they're going to have as an estate, or a hatchback, and they have the Corolla hatchback, and they don't need a Camry hatchback. But I think they should. It's a good idea. Lehman Brother, okay. That's not different to Lehman Brothers, which is a different company entirely that got us in trouble in 2008 by going bust. I think Nissan pairing with Renault was a bad move for them. Why did they do it? Oh, sorry, I just explained that before I ever reached Europe, but that's because Nissan was ran out of money. Nissan was just about dead in the water. They had no money left. They were going to be shutting up their shop. That was, I can't remember what year that was. Basically the year the Renault-Nissan alliance broke out. And then Nissan did some wonderful things with their cars. They brought out some really phenomenal fast jokes, and they had some good cars. But slowly in the background, their bread and butter was going. The Pulse, what was that car called? The Primera. Crap car. The last version of Primera, I would hit it over the head with a hammer. Tida, for God's sake, like the Tida is a dreadful thing. I wanted to buy one the other night just so I could break it with a sledgehammer. Please, somebody, find me a Tida with an NCT on it and give it to me. Stop sponsoring it, just give it to me so I can crash it into a wall. It's the worst car ever built. And yet it's sold. That you'll find a load of things hanging out there. And them they're everywhere. Outlets bought them all over the place. But, then they started blending their engines in with Renault, which didn't help them with their reliability. Nissan were a Japanese company, very reliable. Then suddenly they got into bed with a French company, not quite as reliable. And they've ended up in this kind of variant car that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and they don't seem to be making their own way with things, and Renault are starting to improve their sales and improve their cars and improve their conditions. They're improving their lot quite well, they're doing okay, and Nissan seem to be just sitting back and going, I don't know what to do, we've no money left, probably because Renault's just strangling a whole lot out of it. Peter Doyle, I'm at 2:35 p.m. Sorry, I'm falling a slight bit further back than I was a minute ago. Peter Doyle says, hi from Kilkenny, Bob. Any other used car reviews coming out soon? Not right now. Just so many cars at the moment, so many new cars to get through as well. It would require a little bit of budget on behalf of someone who wants their car reviews, but I'm looking for cars that are for sale. I'm not looking for a car that someone has at home and just want me to come down and review the thing for the crack, So if it's a relatively new car, or there's already a review like it on my channel, I'm not going to come down and review your car. But if you've got a car you want me to review, and it's something, it doesn't have to be new or different or weird or some sort of a strange Datsun thing from 1955 or whatever, nothing like that, any just ordinary run-of-the-mill car, get in touch with me and I'll have a look and see what's there. A good few of them came in after the last video, and it was good crack. But arranging to do that again is another story entirely. That's another thing. It would require a little bit of budget because it does require a lot of time, and it's preferable that it's for sale so I can link to it and say that it's there. Brian Collins asks a different question. Jim Dunn says, we put up 600 miles during the week on our Nissan Qashqai on a holiday and average 57 miles per gallon. That's an excellent car of that size. It certainly is. No complaints with Nissan Qashqai. I think it's actually pretty good. It's a bit old now, but it's pretty good. But it's just, if you look at Nissan, that's all they seem to have sold for years now. That's it. Qashqai, Leaf. And the Leaf only started in the last couple of years selling, really. But Qashqai. Pulsar came out. Nobody was that interested, even me. I don't know if did I review a Pulsar? I'm not sure whether I did or not. I know I drove it on the launch and thought it was awful. but nobody bought it either. The Note, that was a bloody good car. Nissan Note, really practical, but it failed because the plastics were a bit cheap and the engine lineup wasn't great, and it didn't quite work out either. So Nissan are just constantly kind of falling from one battle to the next, and they don't seem to be getting themselves right. And I don't mean Nissan Ireland now, I'm talking about Nissan Global, on a grand scale. Nissan Ireland, lovely people. I'll be up there in a couple of weeks' time. I think I'm on holidays actually, but I'll be up there in a couple of weeks' time with Nissan, talking to them about their ice cream truck. Anyway, it's electric powered. Christopher Wayne says, remember the horse racing? Is that horses? Remember the horses? No. John Bitt says, Bob, hi. You're the first one to say that backwards. Bob, hi. That's messed with my brain. Diesel engine, otherwise fine, but beginning to sound very loud at cold start, rattling sound for the first few minutes. What might be the cause? Thanks. Age, more than probably. You might also be getting tappity. It's called tappity, but that can often be the wrong engine oil that's been used. So in your last service, has it got noisy since then? Which can be... So the engine oil is viscosity. Viscosity is everything, right, with engine oil. That's what matters, is how viscous it is. So very thin engine oil looks like golden syrup. You know, it looks like maple syrup or golden syrup you pour it on your finger and it just runs off. That's very thin engine oil. That doesn't withstand very high temperatures. Also doesn't withstand very low temperatures. You've got to be very careful. There's a temperature range that engine oil goes at. So when you see 10W40, 10W is the weight of the oil. So the W stands for weight. So 10, the higher the number, the heavier the oil. So 20W40 is a heavier engine oil. Will go in bigger, like trucks and things. 25, 30, even 50W is another one out there as well. You find that out Caterpillar trucks and stuff. You know, those kind of weird ones. And the second set of digits, so the 40 bit, is the viscosity, is the temperature range. Temperature range it withstands, and the kind of engine oil it is. You'll also see, if it's a Volkswagen, say, or something like that, you have this on the back. It'll say meets standard VW 50501 or whatever. It's 50502 or whatever they're on at the moment. It has to match all those things for your engine, otherwise your engine can get fairly loud. Now, other stuff can be happening here beyond that. On a cold start, if that's the problem, and it's always when it's cold. When it's warm, it sounds better. It's more than probably your engine oil that's causing the problem there when it's cold, because all of the oil has gone to the bottom of the sump, and as it's cold, the cylinders are going up and down, and the viscosity is not there. It's coming up and down. You're hearing the cylinders move around inside. That's the vibration and rattling sound you're hearing. Get your engine oil checked. If you've just had a service, they've used the wrong engine oil, 100%. If they're going to change the engine oil, if you're going to change it, change the oil filter while you're there. Do not let them drain the oil out and put in new oil on top. You're just mixing two engine oils together. They must change the oil filter as well. You do it yourself. I'd say it would take you about 10 minutes, and if depending on the car, you may not even need a jack to do it, but it take you about 10 minutes to do it yourself. You could easily change the engine oil yourself, but just check the manufacturer's relative thing, get the exact engine oil and the exact oil filter to go with it. Other than that, I'd have to sit in the car and listen to it for a few minutes. That's the way you can normally detect these things fairly fast, but usually cold startups is down to the engine oil it's in. Just check your air filter as well. Make sure it's getting enough air. It has to breathe while it's there. Stuart Anderson, having built up a decent no claims bonus, the insurance cost is now almost the same for hot hatch models as a small car. The Audi S1, BMW M135i stand out. Any experience of either of these cars? Cheers. Both. I've driven both. The M135i is the better car to drive because it's rear wheel drive and it's brilliant. It's just a brilliant little car. But the looks aren't exactly phenomenal, right? So a lot of people don't really like it. And it's a bit funny when you're sitting in it as well. It doesn't feel... It's hard to explain. It doesn't feel like an M car, you know? But it's still... It's the best driver of the two. The Audi S1 is a more practical thing. You'd use it every day. You'd have a bit of fun driving in it. It is very quick. It is very quick off the line, but it's less fun in a corner situation. So depending on where you want to drive it, depending on what kind of fun you want. So if you want to drive every day down the back road to get to work, and you might end up out in the motorway once in a while, then I'd go to BMW M135. It's a brilliant car, brilliant fun to drive, and it's actually pretty useful. It's a car you can use every day. You'll fit things in the boot. It's a practical little car. The Audi S1 is a great fun car to drive, but would be, if you're sitting out in motorways or whatever, it seems to be more efficient in that respect. Given those two, if you can stump up for an Audi S3, if you just dump up a little bit more money in a saloon, you're going to be happier looking at that. That is an amazing car to look at. Audi S3 Saloon, absolutely outstanding. Just looks gorgeous. But I would, out of those two, I would pick an M135. Mark Turner Smith, follow on my question, Bob. I'm glad long-term Club GTI member since '95. So many happy years messing with the older fast VWs, which are highly active with the older generation rather than youngsters. Yeah, that's because only the older lads can afford the insurance on the bleeding thing, or the petrol, because they gobble it like an alcoholic. They just drink it. But what people miss out on as well today is when you buy a car, there used to be always a club for that car, almost always. So you bought a Ford Focus, you could join the Ford Owners Club. You know, that's what happened. And it was a great way of meeting people like yourself who were into their cars and who would be able to help you if something went wrong with your car, which is a great part of a club. Was you join it and you're instantly accessing people who are working on the same car you have, and so they're willing always to give you information and stuff. So it's always a good idea that if you're thinking about buying a classic car or a collector's item or something a little bit more mature, a little bit more older, find out if there's a club in Ireland belonging to it and join the thing. See what they're like. Just don't join the EV Owners Club on Facebook, because they really are very upset a lot of the time. CMS 1104, Ford just announced the partnership with VW for their MEB. The partnership means that VW are selling Ford the bits to make electric cars, because Ford can't afford, well, they can afford it, but they can't afford really the time or the effort to develop their own. This means we're going to get kind of pasteurized, homogenized Fords that'll feel like Volkswagens for a while until Ford figure it out, right? But what's really happening is Ford are doing this because it's in Ford's interest to get a jump start on the platform for electric cars, and it's in Volkswagen's interest to give Ford that, because they'll get money and they'll also get the support network and they'll be able to do other stuff within the group. It's a very big business decision. This is definitely not in the consumer interest, but it means that Ford can survive and limp on a bit longer without having to spend billions developing chassis, because Ford were not ready for electric stuff. The easy thing to do is buy them in. Don't forget, that's what Tesla did. Tesla developed the Model S. That was a Mercedes E-Class. Like, that's all the interior fittings are straight out of an E-Class. All the stalks, the steering wheel, everything is out of Mercedes. So they got that head start because they let Mercedes develop all the luxury bits. They just bought them in and stuck them in the cars. That's how it worked. Byron Detrick says, it's amazing, Bob, after 12 months of owning an EV, I can't come up with any questions, simply because I don't care about cars anymore. No worries are gone about engine reliability, bliss, content. That sounds like the most hideous, boring reason to buy an electric car in my entire life. I don't mean that as a thing on you, but I mean, that's you. I like cars because I like cars. I don't mind fiddling with them. I don't mind opening the bonnet, having a look underneath. I don't mind kind of topping it up with oil and doing it. I like fiddling about with things. I don't want to just sit and look at a car that just goes every day. Go. Soon it'll be just press a button. Not even press a button. Soon you set it on your phone. I want to go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. And you walk outside and you get in your car and you go back to sleep. And it'll take you to work. That's it. Hi Bob, what do you think of the new Ford Focus ST? You checked it out. It's a great car to drive, brilliant car, brilliant chassis. Just be very careful. There are things that are options on the car that you should definitely spec, like that performance pack. Don't buy the ST without the performance pack. I think it's called performance pack. Whatever pack it was called, there's so much stuff you get in that performance pack that would be insane. It won't feel like the same car at all unless you do that. So be very careful of that one. But it's a brilliant car, great fun to drive. The automatic one's actually good crack, 7-speed automatic. It was really good crack to drive. The manual one is brilliant fun, but yeah, there's a bit of a throw in that gearbox that I don't particularly like, and the clutch, the pedal box is a little bit too tight as well, just a tiny bit. That's a Ford thing though. Buy an automatic 2.3 litre petrol with the performance pack if you're going to buy one. Was out for a walk before the British Grand Prix. All I can now is Tucson, Qashqai, Sportage, then I say lovely Superb, and the saloon car is dead. Why I hate SUV yokes. They're very popular. There's so much choice in the market. People are buying into SUVs even when they hate them. That's what's happening. Like I say, I had an M5 outside the door. Hardly anyone paid any attention. I have an X7 now, and people are getting selfies with it. It's just a 3-litre diesel X7. It's an impressive, brilliant car, but it's just a diesel X7. Anyway, Derek Norris says Nissan and Renault was 2014 middle of the year. There you go. Now that's what's killing Nissan at the moment. It's like somebody pulled a carpet out from under them or something. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, they'll be back. They're a big company. They're very hard to kill off, but they have massive competition at the moment in their segments as well to make it worse. The Qashqai segment is now diluted down. It's like a bottle of my waddy, lads. It's that diluted at the moment. There's so much in there. The Qashqai had such a gigantic lead over everybody else, and now it's on its own there. The Leaf, massive lead on top of everybody else. Now what's happened? The market is now saturated with the stuff, but you can't get anybody's. Nobody's able to make enough batteries. And the Nissan Leaf long range one still isn't here, although I do hear it's on the way, so it is coming. Brian Cull says Nissan Note Mark 1 was flipping great. It was great. It was a really good car. I really like Nissan Note. I liked all generations of Nissan Note. I think it was a really practical, smart, clever car. A lot of that cleverness now is missing on the cars. Even Skoda's lost a bit of that clever, simply clever stuff. They seem to have gone very silent over the last while. They don't seem to be able to get budgets going and get things moving, and they invent something, but it seems to come just behind what Seat have done, or just behind what Volkswagen's just about to do, or whatever it is. It just seems to be all homogenized nearly into one, and Nissan's gone the same way as well. They're kind of getting rid of stuff that doesn't sell so well for them, so they're losing their kind of interesting edge, and they're trying to compete in a market that's saturated with cars with a phenomenal choice. You know what I noticed the other day as well? There's a 2-year warranty on Mercedes. Do you know that? Luxury car brand, 2 years. That's it. After 2 years you're on your own. Good luck. And yet you all buy them. It's weird, that. Anyway, and like Kia have a 7-year warranty, and Hyundai have a 5-year warranty. Mitsubishi have an 8-year warranty. Crazy. 2 years. Anyway, won't get into warranties. Gary Mills. Bob, saw a gorgeous 10-year-old petrol XJ the other day. Where did the car design go wrong? All the same looking boxes. Safety was one thing. That's one thing definitely happened. Fashion happened as well. Do you know what the best? Do you know the 5 Series? The older one, the Chris Bangle. A man I know, I've met Chris Bangle a couple of times. A really nice chap. Not a person who likes talking to people, but he's actually a nice chap if you get him talking on his own. But Chris Bangle designed a BMW 5 Series, and everybody went, "Oh my God, that's fierce ugly. Look at that car. It's terrible. All the motors are Top Gear." Everybody went, "Oh no, it's terribly ugly." I saw one the other day, a wagon version of it. It was an M1, no, an M5. And I saw a standard one with it as well, and it's a phenomenal looking machine compared to the standard 5 Series now today. Sharp, yes. The old 5 Series was softer, just beautiful car, really beautiful car. So car design has fallen asunder in the last few years, and XJ, like you say, Gary Mills, 10-year-old XJ, looking spectacular, whereas modern day cars look somewhat like fridges to some degree, but also because safety, the NCAP rating, you want to pass that, you have to have a certain length bonnet. So if someone gets hit, you hit somebody with a car, you have to hit them between the knee and the hip. I know that sounds really bad. You're not supposed to hit them down at the calf level. So cars got taller to hit you in the hip, right? If you hit them, their head has to hit the bonnet, not the windscreen. Windscreen has no give in it. If your head hits the windscreen of a car, you're probably dead, right? You're probably going to get brain damage over it at the minimum. If you hit the bonnet, the metal has give, so it's able to flatten out and it's able to bend as you hit it, which means you shouldn't let your you know the classic old photograph of your wife sitting on the bonnet of the car? Don't let your wife sit in the bonnet of the car, she's going to dent it, because it's made of nothing, he says, made of just aircraft aluminium like. Anyway, but that donated the length of the bonnet. So if you want to hit a 6-foot man in the hip or lower in the thigh, and you don't want his head to hit the windscreen, there's the size of your bonnet in front of your car designed by a safety system. That's why cars are starting to become homogenized looking, and they all look the same. Mark Turner Smith says the Nissan Juke Nismo RS 16, 17 or 18 plate look incredibly cheap, but made bargain bonkers things. With all Nissan problems, why did they do it? Say to me again now. Nissan Juke Nismo looks incredibly cheap, but made bargain bonkers things. Yeah, no, look, the Juke Nismo wasn't. I got driven around by a rally driver around Mondello in the Juke Nismo, and it was deadly fun. God, that was a fun car. But like Nissan just ran out of money. Look what they've done. Like they've made some incredibly fast cars. There's some beautiful examples out there in the fast end of stuff, but they don't sell enough of them to make any big money of it. And this road going versions of those fast cars are kind of boring. And that's the problem with Nissan. They don't seem to be able to do that. CMS1104 says, I assume that the horse might have been about your diesel comment, that they still be here around 30 years' time. Similar things were said about horses when the cars first came out. No, you see, it's not. Cars saved horses. So horses are still here. They're just not beaten to death in the street. Unless you're talking about the traveller versions that they run up and down on horses the whole time. But actually they look after their horses quite well. But horses now, when horses were out and used as taxis and being pulled around the street, they were beaten to death in the street to make them work harder. Horses are still very much here, but now they're treasured. Now they're looked after and everybody minds them and all that sort of stuff. So the same is happening now to cars with electric cars. We're finding these fridges to drive so we can save our Ford Cortinas from destruction. That's what's really happening at the moment. So it's not, the horses are still very, very much here. So don't forget that. Sorry, I got a message on the phone. Man, I'm sure it's not a donation for somebody so I can read out their name. And last week I did get donations. I'm terribly sorry. They came in after the stream last week. There was so much going on last week. It was incredible. There is a few. Yes, you're very good. Thank you very much. You can support this channel in many ways. There's loads of little links down below if you want to click any one of them. PayPal or Patreon. Couple of euro, a tenner, a fiver, whatever it is. It all goes into the big kitty to make sure we get enough kit and equipment and everything else to make this happen, because no car company is allowed to sponsor this channel. That's on behalf of me. I should have taken the money years ago, they say. They say I should have taken the money. But I never did. I never took the money. So I'm poor and broke little YouTuber. Rapid VTech says, what is your favourite of all GTIs based on driving? The Up GTI would be probably my favourite one. Had a spinning one. God, when was that? Was that last year? It wasn't an official test, and it was a rental car. Someone else rented. I was out somewhere. And anyway, I got a drive of a GTI Up. It was really good crack. God, that was such a good crack car. But if I was to own a car, not GTI, I'd take a Golf R. I would. Or I'd take a standard GTI. Buy an automatic GTI, Golf GTI, and you'll be happy out forever. Just an automatic just makes life easy. When you don't want to be driving like a mad joke, just go go and just drive home. It's nice. Andrew Evans, does ISA mean huge cuts in new car sales? I would never buy an ISA car. What's an ISA car? Kevin McCarthy just gave €5 there. Kevin, you're a great man. God looks down on you and loves you greatly. From the Sunday service. I don't believe in God, by the way. But I lost where I was now. Hold on a second. That seemed very interesting. Does ISA mean huge? What's ISA? You have to explain to me what ISA is. It's not really jumped into my mind right now, Andrew Evans, but there will definitely be cuts in car sales next year, and if the government make the wrong move and they tremble the wrong way, we'll be back to 2008 in the blink of an eye. We'll be back to 75,000 sales or something. It'll be tiny numbers going out if they mess with enough stuff. Anton Sturrison says, Bob, wouldn't it be great if Audi made a new A2 with the VW MEB platform? Wouldn't that be wonderful? That would be the ideal. If you think of what Audi did with the A2, and I see them around still, there's one or two of them around here in Portlaoise, they look phenomenal. Diesel version, that was, I think, a 1.4 TDI would do like 90 miles to the gallon. Amazing car. Couldn't work on a goddamn thing of it yourself. You had to go to a dealership in Belfast to get body work done on it, because it's not painted. And it's aluminium. You can't work on anything, and the bonnet doesn't open like a normal bonnet. You can't see the engine or anything. You just see the place you put windscreen washer in. It was deadly. Deadly car. Total future classic. If you can manage to get yourself, you could buy a petrol one. If you manage to get yourself a good one of them A2s and put it into a garage and leave it there, I guarantee it's going to double in price in the next 5 to 10 years, without a doubt. CMS says, don't they already show a prototype kind of A2? They did, but see, the prototype stuff is a weird thing in car culture. What they do is they throw out now drawn, and they go, oh, we've got a first look, and that's the first look. Car companies know exactly how to keep secrets. They only tell you what they want to tell you. That's it. So there's no such thing as sneak preview or pirate copies. None of that stuff. Right? This doesn't happen. It's car companies. People get killed for less. You wake up with a horse's head in your bed for failing an NCAP rating. So that's not happening. But the prototype stuff that they put out, what to do is they draw a prototype and then they release it to the general public. And at some point or another, the opinion comes back, wow, why don't you just make it VW? It looks deadly, or whoever it is, Audi. And then they go off and they refine that, and they go, our new car is going to look like this, and they go, wow, that's fantastic. And this continues on for a couple of years till they come up with an idea of whether it's sell or not. It'll all come down to retail, whether people actually want an A2 to buy or not. I have caught up on your questions. Would you believe that? I can't believe that I've caught up on your questions. So ask more questions, which is always good. A couple more to get through, mind you. Operator Hoot says, is that a cat in the background? You know, cats increase subscriptions by 20%. Just saying. I don't see a cat, but I must get a cat. I don't own a cat. But there is a cat that comes visiting around every once in a while, belonging to somebody else who comes in, just wanders around the floor and goes back out again whenever it feels like it. Weird cat. But I don't own a cat. Maybe I should get a cat and put it on my shoulder, just wrap around my neck here and leave it there while subscription goes on. Kevin McCarthy, like I say, Kevin, you are a brave man. Thank you very much for your super chat subscription. You're very good. Tony S. Bob, apropos for the new Ford Fiesta ST3. Great car. Performance CAC is also recommended. Limited slip differential, quite for cornering stability. Yes, Ford Fiesta ST is one of my all-time favourite drives. Was over Wicklow in a Ford Fiesta. I won't say when. I'd say the guards are still looking for the people involved. We went over Wicklow one day in a Ford Fiesta ST at quite a hockey speed. But it was great, a brilliant car, absolutely phenomenal look. I burnt the brakes off it. I did the same thing to an Audi as well once upon a time. Actually, I did make Audi's brakes smoke once upon a time as well. But anyway, that's different. I was on an international trip. Don't worry, Audi Ireland, you're okay. It wasn't your car, it was someone else's car. But I did make them burn. Andrew Evans, actually I made Philip Nolan was driving with me the other day. Philip Nolan's another motor journalist here in Ireland. He was driving with me the other day in Nice on the Focus ST drive, and he's very nervous. He gets very nervous when I'm driving. He always has a little bit of a panic attack because we're driving along cliff edges. And I don't know if you've ever driven around Nice, but when you go into northern Nice, you're going into the mountains bit of it. And the roads there sometimes have barriers, and other times they can't be bothered with the barriers. So it does make some interesting driving points where you're turning left into a corner, you're just going around that corner, you look over and you go, yep, there's a cliff on that side, and you can just go straight on over the top. It's funny. Intelligent speed assistance, or unintelligent from my perspective. If you're talking about the active cruise controls you find it on cars, they've all got different names for it, but basically it's an electronic cruise control system that is receiving information from the car in front of it, and it's sending back a sort of a similar, if you think of something like sonar, it's not sonar, but if you think of something like sonar where it's sending out a blip and it's watching the car in front of it, and as the car slows down, it slows down with it, and that's intelligent speed assistance. It can be an awful thing to try and get used to, but once you get used to it, you do actually find it's okay. I find it lovely on a long journey. If I was driving on to Limerick now, down the N7, or Cork down the N7, or going up to Dublin, I'd probably stick on the active cruise control because, number one, it stops me speeding. And in that X7, I have never felt a sense of standing still as much as I have in that. You're doing 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway, and it, honest to God, you feel like you're doing 50 kilometers an hour. You think, I'm holding everybody up here. Surely this can't be right. I can't actually be doing 120. It feels weird. A lot of cars, the perception of speed is a weird thing. It depends on where you sit in the car. The lower you sit in the car, the more speed you feel. Which is hence why sports cars are so low to the ground, not just downforce. It makes you feel like you're lying down to the car. If you've ever driven around Mondello in a standard sort of stock car that they got up there, like a Mazda 3, and you're zooming along, and you get around the corner and you think, God, it's very slow. Then you jump into the Formula E yokes, or whatever, not Formula E, whatever they're called, the little single-seater, where you feel like you're lying down, and you're doing 10 miles an hour, and you feel like you're flying along. It's an incredible feeling. Great crack. It's always good crack to go up to Mondello actually for a bit of a spin around. Brian Cullen says, Bob, a friend has bought an Audi A6 2012 from the UK with 100,000 miles on it. Any thoughts, things to watch out for? Everything. If a car, if you're actually buying a 2012 car, so 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's 6 years and 100,000 miles, right? So that's like 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's like 25, somewhere around 20,000 miles a year. That's someone who's working for a living in that car. So they're going up and down motorways the whole time. Now, the problem is, age plays an awful factor in liquids and rubbers. Now, that's not a bad thing to say. What I mean by liquids and rubbers means the hydraulics or the suspension arms and all that all the mechanical things that move over time, they start to loosen out. And anything that's rubber, so anything like door seals and stuff, they all begin to weather over time. So if you're looking for stuff, watch for leaks is the very first thing. If you're parked on a driveway, every day when you drive off, look under the car. Don't look under when you get home, because an air conditioning system drips water as well. But when you drive off in the morning, just make sure there's no stain on the ground, nothing dripping on the ground underneath the car. That's number one. Number two, then look for leaks inside the cabin of the car. Make sure no water ingress is happening in the boot, around the area of the boot. Stick your hand into the back seats, right down into the sills and things. Make sure there's nothing in there. Get it all cleaned out. Do a clay bar on the whole lot. You can either do it yourself or hire a valeter to do that, and get it done, and done properly. In among the sills, in among the drain holes, in underneath the windscreen, all along that area there, all needs to be cleared out as well over time. A lot of the UK cars are incredibly well looked after, particularly if they're fleet cars. So if they're part of a bigger group, you'll find that there's been a fleet group looking after it. So every time it needed a service, it got it, and it got everything it needed in every single service. They can be good. But I guarantee that'll be one of the last few diesel engine 2012 A6s to get into this country this year. You watch that budget when they bring in a tax on the NOx emissions of cars. That thing that Toyota was hailing for the other day, that's it's going to happen. I bet you it'll happen. And because instead of competing with the VRT in Ireland, instead of really competing with the price of the UK cars, they're going to try and ban UK cars instead. Anyway, you know what's happening. But that's what you're watching out for in an Audi A6. Not that much else. The car's pretty bulletproof after that. The air conditioning system tends to give a little bit of problems in Audis. It always has over the years. If it's not blowing stone cold air when it goes to cold or something wrong with it, but you can top up the gas and get that done. Don't, for God's sake, it reminds me as well, just thought of that there. You know, you can buy a bottle of spray stuff, gunk from Halfords, to spray into your air conditioner to regas it. Don't use that stuff. It is horrendously bad for your air conditioning system. You're going to lessen the life of it. Go to an air conditioning specialist and get them to regas it properly. One that has a reputation, one you've heard of, one that dealerships are using or something, but get it done properly. It's a different gas that's in a lot of European cars. That stuff in the can is Chinese or is Japanese or is one of those Asian gases. It's really cheap, but it's slightly thicker. It's more viscous, and it sticks on the inside. So the gas goes back over it again in a year's time, and you put more of that stuff in until eventually the air conditioning system can't work and the pump gives up. So get the proper stuff done properly. Anyway, Paul Hickey. Hi Bob, I was at the local VRT office yesterday trying to clear my bike and failed due to stat code, but there was some amount of Ford Focus cars waiting to be cleared, like a Ford Focus fire sale in the UK. That's exactly what's happening, honest to God. So if you look at what's happening in the market trend right now, anyone who's buying a UK import currently, will you just check the CO2 emissions? You know, you really should check it with NOx and CO2 emissions, because the UK have brought in rules and regulations about selling diesel cars and NOx emissions and congestion charges and low emission zones and all. That's all that happened in the UK. So the UK is dumping its older diesels. And the only other market who wants those older diesels are the only other market who drives on the same side of the road as UK, us, right? So they're being dumped into Northern Ireland and they're coming over here. Or they're being dumped straight onto a bloody ferry and coming over here. Dealerships are buying them. Car dealerships, main dealers. I've seen them with my own two eyes, main dealerships. You're buying a lot of these used cars in and making money on them and selling them off. And you're not going to help anyone by continuously sending these cars out on the road, because they're going to get banned off the road again as the government decides to get rid of it. I'm telling you what's happening. No word of a lie. You're just ripping people off. But anyway, it'll come back to bite you in the ass in the end, because no one's going to buy any cars next year. And that's going to continue. The way it's happening right now in the VRT system, they are continually doing that. And it's still hurting me. Someone has actually sent me money by PayPal. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Derek Norris, you're such a generous man. Thank you very much, Derek Norris. You're very good for sending money by PayPal. But anyway, the NCT is meant to clear these cars out. It's not going to do it until they bring in an NOx emissions test, and that'll clear it out fairly fast. you watch, Paul Hickey. But yeah, Ford Focuses, you'll find a lot of Fords, because they're used over there. Some of them are used over there as taxis. There's a lot of Ford sold in England, and you'll find a lot of Ford Galaxies, because that taxi company over there that you see absolutely everywhere buys like 100,000 of things every year. So you'll see that happens a lot. Mark Turner Smith says mistype meant the Nissan Juke Nismo RS 16, 17, 18 plates, cheap to buy now, very unwanted things, obviously. Really, yeah, it's true. You find a lot of those cars are very cheap to buy because they're all over the place. Derek Norris, good man, thank you very much, Derek Norris, you're very kind. Colin Whelan says, see the new Ionity station coming to Athlone before winter. This would be the third Ionity station with 4 units each on the island. This would make me recommend anyone getting an EV with CCS DC charging. Everything will have CCS. It's kind of become the industry standard. The Nissan plug is going to go by the wayside. I don't foresee a good future of that Nissan plug, to be honest with you. I think the ESB will be the only one to leave it hanging around for a few years' time. But I think in a few years, a lot of those fast chargers would be replaced. I'm not sure they're going to put a Nissan plug charger on it. And Nissan's the only one left doing a big blue one. And then you have the kind of 3-pin 22 kilowatt one, and then the Ionity charger, which would be CCS, which is the one that Audi are really pushing CCS, but they're not alone. Kia, Hyundai, Audi, who else doing it? Volkswagen's going to go that way as well. Skoda will go that way. Seat will go that way. They'll all have CCS, so go CCS anyway. But Ionity, it's a welcome addition to us. It's about time somebody started charging money for electricity on the street. It will stop the bloody queues happening the whole time, because every time I go near an electric charge point, there's a queue of cars there waiting to go out. And then people walk up to you. Why are people so friendly at electric charge points? You just sit there for a minute, like tap someone. How long are you going to be? I'll be 2 hours. Oh no, you can't keep it larger for 2 hours. Anyway, I can't pronounce that name, but it comes. It begins with an S and then goes happens when you. He's talking about mandatory speed limiters when he says the ISA, which are coming into EU law. We've had optional speed limitations for years, right? So we used to restrict car speeds to a certain speed for a very long time. It's always been that way. Now the mandatory speed limiters thing is going to be a pain in the ass. Right now, Audi, every time I go into an Audi, they've got it already put in. So you're driving along the road and you have the active cruise control on, and the active cruise control recognises the speed sign and adjusts the speed automatically to suit that moment. And so you go from 120 kilometers an hour to 50 kilometers an hour on a motorway, because there's a 50 kilometer an hour zone up the hill on the exit. And that does happen. So it is going to be a pain in the hole with the ISA thing. I think it'll be nearly unenforceable, if I'm honest. I'm not sure the car companies are ready for it or can even do anything much with it. Gary Mills says, Bob, Escort Cosworth, early 90s, must be possibly one of the best hot hatches of all time. 100%. I've driven, on a few occasions over years, I've driven Ford Escort Cosworths. I drove a Ford Sierra Cosworth once upon a time. It was the best drive I ever had in any car, and I was outside Tullamore. My God, what a car. An amazing thing. But Ford Escort Cosworth was a brilliant, brilliant car. If you want to get something, actually, if you want to look up something that's worth having a gander at, is a Ford XR3i, the Escort, the older one. It was a great car to drive as well. If you can get one now for anything less than about 20 grand, it's in good condition, you'd be lucky. But brilliant car as well. Anything of the old Cosworth stuff that was out there were phenomenal machines that that Ford made over the years. They've lost their way in that respect, I suppose. What's Coinbase? I just received some bitcoins from somebody. From John Coleman. John Coleman sent me some bitcoins through Coinbase. How do you do that? That's amazing. I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, thank you, John Coleman. You're very generous. You're very kind. Thank you for Coinbase. I'll figure out how that works later on. But Ford Escort Cosworths over the years, and Ford Sierra Cosworth, anything with the word Cosworth attached to the end of it, genuine Cosworth. Be very careful. There's ones out there that have Cosworth written on them that aren't Cosworths at all. But they're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Colin Williams says spot on a 90s Cozzy. Cozzy. Top Gear, not Top Gear, Grand Tour did a great thing about Cosworths and Ford over the years as well. It was really good, but Cosworths were brilliant cars. Anyone watching Top Gear? I haven't seen Top Gear since it came on. I've seen the first episode. It was mildly funny. I was mildly amused. It made air rush out of my nose ever so slightly faster than it was rushing out of my nose 2 seconds before. I think this is the last we'll see of Top Gear again this year. They'll reinvent it again. because it's a money train for them, but I think it's nearly dead now. No one's watching it. At least, when it's on, I don't see anybody tweeting about it. Like, you'd see that second screen effort going on the whole time. I never see anyone tweeting about it. Anyway, Brian Cullen says, RE Audi A6, thanks a million for that reply, Bob. Lots of great advice, which I'll pass on. Yeah, do just be careful that those very high mileage cars aren't to be sniffed at. They can be really good and in really good condition, well looked after, but you're buying something that's designed to last another, 200,000 miles will be difficult to get out of a car that's done 100,000 miles already, because you don't know how it's been treated. You don't know whether the guy rallied the whole of it up and down motorways, or he went everywhere at 80 miles an hour, or he went everywhere at 2 miles an hour. You just don't know which one happened. Mark Turner Smith says, that's why club kart racing was so fun. 65 to 70 miles per hour felt like going like a rocket. I'm telling you, we miss out on so much here. The UK was very lucky because not only did they get a few racetracks that they still have, but they've had a lot of airfields. Second World War meant that a lot of airfields were built and then abandoned. We don't have one. We have one in Northern Ireland. We don't have anything kind of down towards Cork, airfield-wise, that was abandoned, that we could turn into a racetrack. So we miss out on that sort of stuff over here. And we don't have any sort of good stock car racing heritage to go with it. And club kart, which would be the other part as well, like 60, 50, 60 miles an hour, feels like you're bombing along. Like, it really does feel that kind of speed feels crazy. Your whole head is vibrating from the noise. And it's amazing. Gets you very excited about cars, in fairness. Also, kart racing at club level teaches you so much about car control. And that brings me on to a really good point. Vitally important. If you're interested in cars, you're interested in being very safe on the road, and you're interested in getting the best drive you can from a car, I strongly advise you to take a track day course, a race driver's course, any of those courses. If you want to ask the wife or the husband for something for Christmas, ask for that. Tell them that's what you're looking for. You want to take a day course up in Rally School Ireland or Mondello, or if you're in England, you can do ones in Silverstone. There's loads of those little tracks you've got around there. They've all got a track day course on them. Definitely take one, because it teaches you how a car behaves in extreme circumstances. So when you slam on the brakes and you hit that brake pedal at 100% of your effort, it teaches you what the car is going to do in that situation. And steering, rear wheel drive control, front wheel drive control, how the car behaves in tight corners, how you can make a car work very hard. And you just walk away tired, sweaty, and going, I've definitely learned something about cars here. I definitely have changed my perspective on cars. I definitely have become a better driver myself over the years from all the courses I've taken. And I've taken ones with BMW, with Audi, with Mondello, with Rally School Ireland. I've done Silverstone. I've done a Portimao racetrack. I've done the other one in Madrid a couple of times, the one in Barcelona a couple of times. There's so many different tracks I've been on, and it's taught me something every single time I've gone out. So if you really want to get something for Christmas for yourself, that's what you invest in. Either get it for yourself or get your better half, other half, your partner, to get that for you for Christmas. It's a couple of £100. It's better than a flying lesson. Jake, my big black dog. Right. Hi, Bob. Bought a VW CC after seeing a review. Good man. You bought the right car. It's a good car. Having terrible rear inside tyre wear on both rears. Inside tyre tracked and aligned on second set of tyres in 3 years. VW dealer totally uses. Any advice, Peter? So what you're saying to me is that the two rear tyres on the inner part is wearing faster than on the outer part. That would suggest to me that the camber isn't correct on the rear of the car, or it's been set by somebody else. Or you're having suspension issues on the rear part of the car. So basically when you buy a tyre, it should touch the whole flat surface of the tyre, should touch the road at all times. About the size of an A4 page, or a little bit less, is what's in contact from all four tyres at one time. So if the flat of the tyre is touching the road, you should get even wear across the whole width of the tyre. If the tyre wear is happening at this end, it means the tyre is doing this. Ever so slightly, might be only a tiny bit, is doing that. So that's a camber issue. The camber is settable on the back of a lot of modern cars. There is a small Allen key setting underneath. You won't be able to get it yourself. You're going to need a big jacked up part of this. Now, dealerships don't usually do this for you. You'll only find normal harebrained mechanics like me that'll find these little things. But it might be settable on your car to reset the camber. So the wheels are like this now, and you want them like that. So you reset the camber down. Now, it might also be the tyre problem itself. So the kind of tyres being put on the back are not the right size or not the right shape. If it's been tracked and aligned? Has it been done in a proper place? Is it a place that specialises in doing it, or was a dealer that did that? They may have only tracked and aligned the front wheels, not the back wheels. Back wheels need aligning as well. What happens when you rotate the tyres? So when you bring the front tyres onto the front and the back tyres onto the back, the other way around, when you reverse the tyres around, is the same thing happening? There's a few different things you can go through, but it's definitely something to do with your suspension arms, the rack on the back of the car has been moved or shifted, or something's after happening if you're getting particular wear on the inside wheel. If it was a balance issue, you'd get a vibration through your arse, not through your steering wheel. If it was the front tyres, the steering wheel would vibrate. If it's the back tyres, you'd feel it underneath your seat. If that was a balancing issue. Tracking issue means the tyres are pointing outwards. So tracking is the two wheels are pointing forward. If they're pointing slightly left, slightly right, the car will turn left, the car will turn right when you're driving along. Rear wheels are harder to detect really on the back, but you do need to go somewhere and get that sorted out, because it's going to cost you a bloody fortune every 3 years to have another set of tyres. But tyres are only designed to last about 3-4 years, but if the wear is on the inside, there's something definitely wrong there, Peter. Lots of things to think about there. I know there's a lot of going on in your head now. What can I do about that? But realistically, it could be worth, if you want, to reverse the tyres, put the left on the right and the right on the left. That'll make them last a bit longer, but you'll have to do it every 6 months. But it's definitely your suspension that's like that, when it should be like this. Hair bras. That's a weird name. But anyway, what if EV range becomes so good so I can charge it at home, get all the range you need, and fast charging out there becomes a safety thing you hardly ever have to use? See that happening? Yes, I do. Eventually that will. See, right now we're at a point where electric cars are being sold to people who don't have a home charger, because it's free to charge in the street. This is how the dealers in their brain think. A dealer wants to sell cars. That's what a dealer really wants to do, right? And he wants to make sure the right person got the right car. But if a dealer can sell a car to somebody because they see a financial edge, because they can go, hang on a second, I can charge on the street for nothing. That's free fuel. I don't have to pay for electricity. So I'll buy an electric car and just charge it on the street. Now that causes queues. People just queue up behind you. Now, if you start charging money for the fast charge bits, and they have a home charger, then there's no financial benefit to buying the car. So it'll stabilise the market a bit. It'll also stop those queues happening so often, and everyone will start to charge at home because it'll be cheaper to charge at home. So it's definitely going to happen for sure. Now the range thing is a whole other ballgame. Actually getting 600 kilometers from a battery without the car weighing 6 tons is a different story. I mean, already the Audi e-tron weighs over 3 tons, and it's not only able to go 300 kilometers, 350 kilometers, because it has to feel like an Audi. It has to feel heavy, and it has to feel reassuring and big and comfortable. So the problem is, you want to get that car to go further, it still has to feel big and comfortable, and you have to put more batteries in. Batteries weigh an awful lot, and then that means the car becomes heavier. So the problem is, getting 600 kilometers range from a car is a big problem. But if EVs can do 600 kilometers and you start to pay for charging on the street and you get your home charger, that's going to stop all that queue. It'll end up being something you use every day. Byron says Camido will win out as Chadamo. Chadamo is the name of that word. I can't always see Camido for some reason. It must be some sort of visual jumble up. Chadamo will win out as it had 2 grid. UK now installing car to grid in private houses. So Chadamo not dead yet. It also connects and starts flawlessly. I've never had a problem with CCS, to be honest with you, but I think it depends on what. It's not down to who's going to win at what. It's down to who's going to buy what and who's going to install it. The problem is, Chadamo might be useful for you at home because you have a Leaf, or because you're in that thing. But if Nissan is the only one installing Chadamo chargers on their cars, then you've got a big problem, because everyone else is going to go with something else, whether that be CCS or some other invention later on. But at the moment, it will. If everybody's doing CCS, then Chadamo has no future. It can't have a future, because not everyone's buying Leaf, and that's the only one right now that has Chadamo charger on it. ISA will speed up the idiots hogging the roads at 38 to 42 kilometers per hour. I wouldn't mind if traffic flowed quicker, pedal down, and a car at 50 kilometers an hour. Traffic won't flow quicker. It's not. I don't think this is going to help. I don't think it's going to be a good thing. It's definitely, again, you're being told what you're doing is not safe, and you're not allowed hurt yourself. That's really what's going on. That's really, honest to God, that's what happened right now. They're veiling it under some sort of safety initiative, but in actual fact, they're taking your freedom away. I should be allowed to do whatever I want to do. There's already a penalty for speeding, right? Right now, you get 3 penalty points and you pay a fine for speeding. And you can even be arrested for speeding. But it's my right. If I want to break that law, then I can break that law and I'll be arrested for it. That's my right. It doesn't mean that a car company has to go, no, we're not going to allow you to speed anymore. That's it. No, end of story. You're going to stop. You're going to stop speeding and do what you're told. Rebel. Have it taken away. Get it out. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not in favour of these kind of blanket rules or laws. I'm also not in favour of a law being created where, because of a single incident, is always a big problem. When there's a massive tragic crash and 2 kids were killed in the back of a car or whatever it is, and so we immediately change the law because of that one incident. It's an extreme incident. We change the law because of it. It doesn't make any sense. But this speed restrictive thing is going to be a disaster zone if you don't do something about it real quick, because your right to speed should be there. Our hunting of speeding has been something that drove the whole universe forward in the last 100 years. It's our ability to go faster, further, whenever we want. But anyway, Annie McAfee is in the house. Flying visit between runs at work. Hope everyone's getting good weather. We are. All perfectly blue sky right down here in Portlaoise. Mick Mulcahy, what was your first memory of a car from a childhood? My first memory of any car was my father, actually my mother. So this is a weird memory because I was only born, but I still remember how much of an event it was in the house. So in the 70s, there was a competition that was run by Daz, the company that does washing powder, Daz. So what you did was you collected little barcodes or something off it. I don't know, barcodes or some sort of sticker off the side of it, and you sent it in to enter a competition to win a car, right? And guess what? My mother won a Mark I Ford Escort. My mother couldn't drive, right? She had no license. My father, he was a transport guy in the army. He was well able to drive. He knew how to drive. So I still remember that car. That car was the first car that is in my memory in any sort of big way. They won it and had it in the house. And then he sold it and bought a Vauxhall Viva. Was the next car he bought after that. But they won the car. She collected the bloody stamps and won the car, and it was delivered by Marty Whelan. Marty off TV. He used to do the Daz ads on TV. He'd knock on your door and ask you were you doing Daz. But anyway, that car was the first car. I remember Mark I Ford Escort Saloon 4. I think it was a 2-door actually. The one. There was 6 of us in 6 brothers and my mother and father in the back of the car. It was quite normal to have the 6 kids in the back and the 2 adults in the front, and that was it, or a child in the front, me in the front of my mother's knee, driving along the road. But then he bought a Vauxhall Viva. That car was a disaster zone. Broke down. Vauxhall were dreadful, breaking down the whole time. Father was permanently underneath it, and then it was hit outside the front of my house. It was actually rear-ended by a drunk driver and driven up against the wall, so it was battered on both ends and he couldn't get rid of the bloody car. And then he bought a Renault 12, yeah, he bought a Renault 12, heavily plasticky, terribly creaky interior, great car though, beautiful car. And then he bought another one of those, and then he was dead in 1985. He died. So that was the last car he had. But the first memory was a Mark I Ford Escort belonged to my father. Good question, really good question. Nice, Mick. Eric Watford, I'm actually enjoying Top Gear this season. It's an entertainment show at this stage, but I'm fine with that, and it's bits of a laugh. If you want proper car reviews, we have yourself on YouTube. That's true. I used to love old Top Gear, but I love the crack between the lads. No one else seems to be gelling in that way that I still like the crack the lads have. I'd still watch an old episode of Top Gear on Dave, the old one. Anyway, Andy McAfee says Cadwell Park in my favourite circuit for track days. Not too big, tight and twisty with a decent wee straight. Best experience on 2 wheels though as ever. Yes, true. Flying lessons help for Cadwell when you hit the mountain. Derek Norris says, who remembers Phoenix Park car racing? It was a good day out with the family. Yeah, that was a big thing. There was a lot of racing up there. Mondello Park actually had Senna racing there when he was a young race driver. There's a lot of history in Ireland for race driving. We've just forgotten it and we're just not interested in it anymore. We used to do a lot of race driving here. The Gordon Bennett rally that happens still every year was actually a race drive that was invented by a man called Gordon Bennett from the UK, because we didn't have speed limits over here and they had speed limits over there. Brian O'Donnell, where'd that go? Brian O'Donnell at Andy Learn about. He's answering Andy McAfee. Tony S. Bob, is buying extended warranty with a new car a good idea from 2, 3 to 5 or 7 years? It can't be necessarily a bad thing, but you need to understand the terms and conditions. So most of those extended warranties are not done by the car company, they're done by an insurance company. So what happens is the car company does its normal manufacturing warranty, whatever that may be, whether it's 2 years or 5 years or 7 years, and then you can go to a company which might be sold to you at the time of buying the car. So Hyundai was doing a great service recently. They did a 5-year warranty, and they'd sell you another 3-year warranty on an insurance company, so it cost you like 200 quid or something over the next 3 years. But it's actually run through an insurance company. You still go back to your dealership to get the service done or the warranty issues done, but the insurance company pays the dealership for it. You pay the insurance company. Now, it's good as long as the policy is the same, as long as the warranty isn't stepping down. You're getting another 2 years, but it's only on the engine and the gearbox, or it's only on whatever, certain conditions. Then it'd be okay. But as long as you understand what the warranty is about and why you're paying that extra for the warranty, there's nothing like kind of deferring yourself into the future to make sense of something. So when you're buying a brand new car, you feel very precious about it. You kind of go, God, it's got a 5-year warranty. Yay! I'll buy an extra 2 years because I feel very, protective of it now. And in 5 years' time, you couldn't care if the thing was on fire outside the door, right? So don't forget your car is insured. Generally, most warranty issues or most big warranty issues happen in the first 12 months as the car kind of beds in and gets used to being on the road and getting its mileage and the treatment you give it. So generally most warranty issues, most big things that are going to happen to the car happen in the first 1 or 2 years, and then usually very little happens in year 3, 4, 5, just standard service stuff or just things that aren't under warranty anyway, like tyres, windshield wipers, things that are under warranty are things that were fitted by the manufacturer and things that you can't interfere with. So motors would be one of those things. So like windscreen washer motors, which I actually have to replace one of my Seat Leon. Bloody hell, I forgot about that. How much are they? It was 70 quid. So those kind of things can go over time. Sometimes they're covered under warranty, sometimes they're arguable whether they are covered under warranty, but generally those motors are. But other things like seals on doors, not really. Tires, no. Windscreen washers or windscreen wipers, lights, bulbs, that sort of stuff, they don't tend to be covered under any warranty anyway. Any news on a guy who got hustled when buying MPV from dodgy dealer in the N7? No, I still have not heard back from him, or I didn't ask the dealership, but anyone I asked about the dealership didn't have any complaints about them. So I don't know whether it became a thing or not a thing or became a court case. Just a reminder to everybody, that is something that a dealership was named where they'd given over the total amount of money for a car, and they'd done it online or they'd done it over the phone, and when they went to pick up the car was gone, been picked up by somebody already, is what the dealership said. And so they'd, in the words of the person, a stranger on the internet, had given over all of the money for the car, and it was gone. So they didn't know what was going on. So I don't have an answer for you of what. I don't have a resolution to that. But if a good advice, standard advice, if you're buying a car and you're buying it from a bricks and mortar dealership, whether they be a backstreet dealership, a little one you've never heard of before, or a big main dealership, you give a deposit which can be anything from about a tenner to €100. Don't give any more than €200 on the car as a deposit, as a fair trade. That's what you're doing. You're paying the deposit €200, and you're going to pick up the car and you pay the balance on the spot. You pay the balance when you've signed the ownership documents and the change of ownership documents have left your possession, and you're changing the ownership, and you have all of the details in your fist, and you have the keys in your hand, and both keys, you got everything in there. Then you pay the balance. Not before, not on the phone, not over the internet. Don't do any of that sort of stuff. Don't be silly. You'll lose all of your money. Someone out there will try and rip you off. And if the best advice I can give you about buying a used car off Done Deal or adverts or one of these popular websites like Cars Island or something that's not a dealership, you're meeting some stranger who owns a car, going to sell you a car, whatever it is, that kind of person, you can arrange to meet them anywhere. They've got a car, right? So you don't have to go to their house. You don't have to meet them in some back street in the back end of some industrial estate. Don't do that, because that's where people get caught with money in their fists, right? Don't even bring cash with you. Don't panic. It'll be all right. Trust Bob. Bob knows what to do here. Great thing to do is meet them at a petrol station, if you want, go and meet them in a big petrol station with CCTV cameras and all that stuff around you. Or, better still, meet them outside of a guard station. I've done that a couple of times where I'm not sure what I'm getting into here. So I just ring them up and say, yeah, I have no problem, I'll meet you. Yeah, I'll meet you at Portlaoise Garda Station. And they pull up outside of Portlaoise Garda Station and do your deal there. Like, it's nothing pressure-wise. There's no cameras there or anything like that, but it still makes them think twice about how close the guards are to you. Besides that, if you're buying a car, used car, second-hand, I'm saying not to bring cash with you, don't panic. If you spot something that's brilliant and you think that's great, you can always meet them the next day, tomorrow. You can always go away to a bank and come back today. Don't bring 5,000 or 6,000 euro in your pocket because, you turn up to look at a car and two big lads get out of it and suddenly you're in trouble. Andy says, check on tyre sidewall before swapping left to right. Make sure that they are not directional, denoted with an arrow direction of forward travel. Oh, Andy's been paying attention. Andy has been paying attention, I tell you. But I know Donald's answer. CCS could do V2G as well. It seems to be pre-spec'd on CCS already. There was words there with some letters attached to them. I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm sure it means something to somebody. There's a lot of technical words coming out about electric cars and range and trying to figure out kilowatt hours and all sorts of stuff. We'll all get there in the end. But right now, all people want to know is they can get into their car, drive to where they want to go, get what they need and drive home again without having to worry about CCS, CHAdeMO, 22 kilowatt chargers, how far away that charge, how long it's going to take to charge. That's not what people want to know. People are very lazy. People want to get into a car, turn a key or press a button or whatever it is, drive, get stuff, drive home. That's it. That's all they want. They don't want anything else. Nothing complicated. That's what they're looking for. So other people are much more interested. So I generally find people who have an electric car will present me with an Excel spreadsheet to say how much pennies they've saved over the last year on charging the car or whatever it is. And that's really exciting for them. I'm sure it is. And for me, as a sort of an anorak looking at cars, you kind of go, that makes a lot of sense. But for the majority of people, for Billy or Betty sitting at home who has a 1 litre Toyota Yaris and they drive it 4,000 to 5,000 kilometres a year, they couldn't care less how much it saves them. They just want to know should they buy one or not. Brian O'Donnell says, my first car was a Mark II Ford Escort. Oh, good car. Then get a Haynes manual. I have every Haynes manual for every car I've ever owned. Apart from the Leon, actually. I don't have a Haynes manual for that. I did a rebuilt engine over time. And then I bought a Ford XR3. That's a good car. White with brown tint. Oh, classic. And then use SRI Garda Mad in their Ford Fiesta. Brilliant. That's some range of cars you're out having there, man, in fairness. Mark Turner Smith, agree Rebel ISA will take our car freedom, but it's about nanny state trying to take control. I'm telling you, right now, you're going to regret the day that this ISA thing really takes effect. When you're driving into a zone and you're doing 55 kilometers an hour and the car goes down to 50. You're going to regret that day. Honest to God, we're going to look back in the future at this point of history as being a time where we stopped chasing speed, where we stopped having fun. Telling you. Brian Collins says, my dad has two Vivas. Oh yeah, Mark 1 then Mark 2, which was a bit like a Starsky and Hutch car when the Herbie Stripe very good. A lot of clutch failures, yeah, they were desperately badly built. Those Vauxhalls, anything Vauxhall from that era doesn't survive very well. Steve Short, what's your opinion on a Mark 7 Golf 1.6 TDI would be good first car? Great car. Mark 7 Golf is a brilliant car. It was the car that changed Volkswagen's fortune, in fairness to them. They really took off when they got the Mark 7 version of it. 1.6 TDI is really easy to work on as well. And one of the last few engines out there that won't have... it probably doesn't have stop start, and it won't have stuff AdBlue in it, so you can easily work on that car yourself. I mean, you can do all your own service and stuff. So Steve, yeah, 100% get that car. Good room. They're usually hacked to bits though, so be careful of that. They're usually people like you buying as a first car. They're usually those kind of cars, so it can end up being a slightly difficult car to look after over time, but if you learn to service, it's a good place to start on a 1.6 TDI Mark 7 Golf. Paul Doherty says, my first car was a Mini Metro. Talk about crap. Oh my god, I had nearly forgotten about Mini Metros. They were that bad. I don't fit in a Mini Metro properly. I have to say, I never was able to find a place where my arms fit my legs. Never the same. I don't know why. Terrible bloody car, that car. He said combined charging system for European car has vehicle to grid already specified. So it seems VW, BMW, Volvo, Hyundai will supply electricity back to the house or office and grid. That's coming into Ireland as well. The ESB have planned to buy electricity from you, which is like the dark ages of stuff. They should have been doing this for years. You never do that for years in England. Years and years and years in England. And here we are. Oh wow, we're going to roll it out here. The ESB, another group of suits and people wearing pullovers, sitting around trying to tell you how to run your life when they're on massive money and absorbing huge amounts of cash from everybody. ESB will never lose, boys, because no matter who you buy your electricity from, you pay your standing charge to ESB. That's the way it is. It's the way it always will be as well. Tony S. Will the Saab 9... Speaking of Saab, I got an ad this morning on Instagram for Saab and I got so excited. I thought, my God, they're back. But it was about airplanes or something. I don't know. They still make airplanes. Or do they? I thought Saab was long gone. Anyway, sorry. Will the Saab 9.3 1990s car petrol only be serviceable in the future? Naturally aspirated 2.5 V6 engine, cracking engine with Hertz. Yeah, you'll get... look, if you learn to service for yourself, you will always get parts. I guarantee you will always get parts, because people like Bradshaw's here, even Halfords, keep... air filters and oil filters and everything else you'll ever need to make your car go. You'll never be short of parts. Someone will always make parts for you out there. So you'll easy, like Saab 9.3 is a gorgeous car. You get a convertible one, they're really, really good. Honest to God, worth looking into. And if you can find that 2.5 V6 is one of the easiest engines to work on of all, because the oil filter's on the bottom pointing downwards. The sump note is right there, right beside the thing. The spark plugs stick out at the top where they're supposed to be, and the air filter is completely openable from the bonnet top. So brilliant, easy car to service yourself and look after yourself. So no problem with that one. It is now just coming up 2 minutes to 4, and this has been a fantastic day. A lovely, slow building day. I quite like that in the sunshine. It's been lovely. Hopefully you have learned all you need to know about cars for this week. Now, I don't know where I'm going to be next week, because I'm supposed to be in Madrid on Sunday. And I'm flying out, so I don't know if I'm going to be in the air or on a track or whatever, but I'll try and do something at 2 o'clock on Sunday if I can, if I'm not squealing an AMG or trying to rip its tyres clean off. But I will make a video of that either way. Hopefully you are going to enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Tomorrow is my wife's birthday, so I need to go and do stuff for that before it's too late. And I'm going to be picking up a Mercedes AMG in the morning, an A-Class AMG in the morning, and a Toyota Corolla and a Citroen DS7, all in the same week, along with 2 trips. I'm going to Germany for the Mazda 60th anniversary of the MX-5, and I'm going to Madrid for the AMG. So hopefully you'll join me on that part. You can find me on Instagram quite regularly. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use it that much. But I do use the Sunday Service community over there. You want to join that part? Thank you very, very much for watching. Hopefully you have hit the subscribe button and all is well in your world for the rest of the day. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.